asylum seekers or economic migrants who make it from Sudan to the UK have a 99% chance of being given leave to remain. So I spent several hours talking to immigration chiefs here in Benghazi on the east side of Libya. The Libyan National Army has a very good grip on the immigration problem, albeit fighting against a huge crisis with limited resources. There is a very, very clear process of giving people proper health checks, the life-saving care that they need, and then working out where it is exactly that they've come from. Their message to the UK is that you are fueling this problem. You are effectively advertising a great new life for people from sub-Saharan Africa. They actually said, you know, what do you think happens when a guy from Sudan comes up through Libya and makes his way all the way to the UK and gets put in a luxurious hotel and provided with everything? And make no mistake, it is a perilous journey. We see it from the end point. We see the channel crossing as the dangerous bit. But actually where these journeys begin is in the hot desert. Many, many tens of kilometers have to be covered on foot by these migrants. And as many as 1 in 4 do not make it. That means bodies in the desert. The Libyan authorities are having to recover bodies in the desert. About the UK and how much awareness. Please understand the scale of what we are dealing with here with very, very limited resources. Once again, you know, people come in from charities, from NGOs, they use warm words, and the authorities here told me the only thing that we ever get is maybe a few toothbrushes and some nappies for the babies.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Hey, very good morning to you. It's Hump Day, apparently. It's Wednesday, the 12th of November. You're very welcome. Thanks for tuning in to Talk, the home of free speech. Frankly, where the nation comes to speak. It's down to you as ever. We'll read out what's happening in the world, and whatever you're doing this morning, just get involved, because it's another day of madness in the world. Where do we start? You're waking up to the news, my friends, that 1 million, yes, you heard me right, 1 million more claimants are grabbing benefit. But perhaps the most frustrating for many of us is you actually don't need to look for work. 1 million more claimants. 4 million people, for the first time in this country's history, are claiming benefits with no need to work. So the question is there any need to work at all? Does work pay? Listen, I've said this on numerous occasions. I'm old-fashioned. When you left school, you went to work or you went to college. I have always been, and I'll say it right now, early on this morning, a massive supporter of a system that says, pay some tax, please, for people who cannot help themselves to benefit. Brilliant, well thought through. But the system is completely broken, as is so much in this country. And to be able to then say to people, hey, we've got a system, it's not a safety net, it's become a career choice. How do you feel about the fact that at least 1 million more people are claiming benefits? Whilst you're getting up this morning, maybe you're already in the queue, on the bus, listening in whatever way you are. Maybe you're at work, maybe just finishing an overnight. Does work pay? Because 4 million people are sat at home, probably in bed right now. They might get up at 8 o'clock, put their Sky on, get some breakfast, do whatever. They're getting money for nothing. It's not fair. Do you know what the Labour Party's answer to this? Apparently yesterday we were told they're going to stop that cap of 2 children. So you're actually saying to the feckless, carry on having kids, don't need to work, we'll look after you. This, of course, on the back of news that Rachel Reeves, who obviously can't head up, jobs bloodbath. Most of the papers reporting this morning, jobs are being axed at the rate of 1,000 a day. 180,000 people have been left on the work scrap heap since January. So we've got 4 million basically getting paid to do nothing and being encouraged to do so. And people who want to work are being axed by their thousands. What is the answer? How do we get people back to work? What do you think of that? And, of course, more important than anything, does work pay? As ever, if you want to be part of the show, 0344 499 1000. We love the voice notes, we love the calls, we love the texts as well. 87222. Start your message with the word talk. The BBC continues to be an extraordinary story. Overnight, the Donald has reiterated his desire to sue the BBC for £1 billion. I don't know if you saw all the lovies come out yesterday from the BBC, all the John Simpsons and the Jonathan Dimblebys. We're a wonderful institution. We're renowned throughout the world. No, you're not, are you? Let's be perfectly honest. You're seen as biased. You are seen as run by a core of idealists who have their own way of thinking. And I've watched a stream of people defend the BBC this week, and yet there are so many more examples. And as I've said all week, it's not just about Donald Trump. It's about all the things that the BBC have done, whether it's hiding Savile, still paying Hugh Edwards his pension, whether it's allowing that vile anti-Semite Bob Villan to spout deaf to the IDF. I feel massively sorry for Martine Croxall, a renowned female broadcaster, news broadcaster, who was censured by BBC Verify, whatever the hell that means, for daring to change her alter cue from pregnant people to pregnant women. I don't know about you, I'm old-fashioned, as I said yesterday. I think I remember when women had wombs. We've got a great clip, actually, overnight. So Trump coming back again and saying, yep, you know what, I'm suing them. This was him on Fox News. Have a watch.
Are you going ahead and suing the BBC?
Well, I guess I have to. You know, why not? Because they defrauded the public, and they've admitted it. And their top echelon,
Director General and the CEO,
this
both
is
resigned.
Within one of our great allies. You know, this is supposedly our great ally, BBC. The government has a chunk of that one, I guess, but that's a pretty sad event. They actually changed my January 6th speech, which was a beautiful speech, which was a very calming speech, and they made it sound radical. And they actually changed it. What they did was rather incredible. They're showing me the results later on, the results of what they did, how they butchered it up. But it was very dishonest, and the head man quit, and a lot of the other people.
It was a very beautiful speech. The extraordinary thing is, and I want to say a very good morning to my co-host for the next hour. Love this lady, Samara Gill. Good morning.
Good morning, Jeremy. Oh my gosh, there's a lot of news to get into today. I mean, I can't think of worse front pages for Keir Starmer.
No, well, lots about him coming up. I thought I might avoid that for a little minute. But Donald Trump is extraordinary because all those people from the BBC coming out yesterday going, he's trying to control our media. I didn't hear him complain when it first went out. No, because a whistleblower hadn't said that you're bent and corrupt and you'd edited so appallingly. The self-justification of the BBC is extraordinary, isn't it?
I mean, they're actually trying to pin this on the right wing. If
Yes.
you hear a lot of their pundits, they're saying this is a right-wing conspiracy to plunge the BBC into turmoil. No. You shot yourself in the foot here, Tim Davie and Deborah Turness and everyone else involved. You know that they're desperate when they start to basically become conspiracy theorists when it comes to what's actually going on there. The dossier was staggering. The fact that they completely ignored this Trump thing for 6 months. This has been sitting on their desk for 6 months. This isn't yesterday's news. This is actually something that had been going on for a long time. So their incompetency to actually manage such a behemoth organization has just risen because of Trump shining a light on it. I think he should sue them all the way to the hilt. I don't care that maybe the taxpayer will have to foot the bill. I think the BBC will have to.
They get £5.39 billion pounds a year.
It can come out of their budget.
For me, it's extraordinary. I want to play. This is Tim Davie, who has had to resign. And I keep going back to it, Samara, right? We're talking just about Trump. He's become the focal point. This core of this corporation has been rotten for as long as I can remember. And a lot of people, you're quite right, have come out. Lisa Nandy overnight, the culture secretary. The light on the hill is the BBC. The light on the hill, Lisa Nandy. What a load of old... What are you talking about? The fact is, tell me why you haven't pursued Hugh Edwards' pension that I, as a licence fee payer, am still paying a paedophile to walk around the United Kingdom. Explain to me how you can pay a Hamas official's son to voice a documentary on the state broadcaster of the United Kingdom, right, that is fervently anti-Israeli. Explain to me all this stuff, that 2 of their reports a week, I read yesterday, on Gaza had to be changed because of bias. And you see Turness and you see these people going, no, we are a fantastic example, backed up by these self-perpetuating people. Tim Davie yesterday, on the back of resigning, I think he should have resigned when he wore trainers with his suit. But anyway, this is him. He says that the BBC is the very best of our society. We are screwed, aren't we? Have a watch.
We are a unique and precious organisation. And I see the free press, I see the weapon under pressure, I see the weaponisation. I think we've got to fight for our journalism. I'm really proud of our work, and the amazing work, locally, globally, that we're doing is utterly precious. We have made some mistakes that have cost us, but we need to fight for that. And I'm fiercely proud of that. And don't let anyone stop you thinking that we are doing a fantastic job.
Sorry, utterly proud of the mistakes that he's made? Or precious would be a great word. Yes, you're so precious you can't see the mistakes you've made for yourselves.
Look, someone bring in the men with white coats and take him away, because he's giving sort of mentally incompetent in that. I don't even know why he's out there sort of defending what, as you said, is rotten to the core. We know that for a fact. I mean, this is a man who was actually at Glastonbury, probably enjoying allegedly, but, a drink or two while Bob Villan was out there shouting death to the IDF.
You knew, by the way, do you know this is a really important point? Tim Davie was informed by people inside the BBC he was at Glastonbury, he could have pulled it, and he allowed that to continue being streamed, I think on iPlayer, for 5 hours. Samara.
Correct.
Fact. It's appalling.
Yeah, exactly. This is a man who really did preside over a real calamitous time for the BBC, and just now he's having to actually face accountability. But it shows when he says we are the very best of our society, it shows the rotten echo chamber that they all exist in the BBC. That place needs to be cleaned out top to bottom of this horrible, horrible ideology that they exist on. It's sort of, Gaza good, Israel bad. This very sort of Orwellian chamber that they live in, where they do think that they're doing the right thing. I mean, you can see nature is healing a little bit. Just yesterday, they did actually call biological women instead.
Sorry?
Yeah, instead of actually when they were addressing the trans conglomerate, they did address them as their actual biological sex, which I thought,
old.
wow.
Listen, you're young, you're the future, I'm the past. I'm rather with Trump on this. There's a man or there's a woman.
Whoa.
No?
That's controversial. That's very controversial. Apparently, if you were at the BBC, that wouldn't watch.
That's probably why I never will be. There we go. What do you think about this whole BBC thing? I'm going to talk about benefits in a sec, but 0344 499 1000, text to 87222. Trump doubling down on the fact that he is going to sue the BBC for £1 billion, and still their heads are permanently up their backsides, if you want me to be honest. They're still justifying their existence. I think it's a seminal moment. Let's get to the front page of The Times and many others today. Samara, 1 million more people on benefits with, and this is frightening to me, no need to seek work. I said at the beginning of the show, and I'll say it to you, I've always supported, I don't know about Australia, but I've always supported a system that says if you're down on your luck and you've tried everything, we'll help you. But it's become a career choice. 4 million people in this country are getting money and there is no pressure on them to work. I do not understand how that is sustainable financially, but morally that doesn't help people who are sat on their backsides, does it?
Well, exactly. And you get, this has all happened under Starmer, this 1 million more. So you can see that his policies absolutely are not working. But yeah, I mean, you're right. It fosters this sort of really terrible generational curse, to be honest, on families. If you see your parents on benefits, then you're going to also believe that the state has to provide for you. And so it's a very, very dangerous line that we're going through. We cannot afford this. I mean, the Daily Mail, 1,000 jobs a day now lost under Reeves. It's actually 180,000 jobs that have been lost under Rachel Reeves.
I can tell you, actually, she thought it was 10, but she counted up. It's actually 1,000 a day. I mean, she has to be the most I mean, I just have to look at that front bench sometimes. I look at Calamity Lammy, I look at Rachel Reeves, and I find myself struggling. But this benefits issue is so important. Let me read this from Jason in Worthing. Jez, Samara, as with the illegal immigrants, we need to cut benefits for all the work-shy and feckless and encourage people to work and pay for themselves and contribute to society. It's almost like the government are trying to destroy small business so we all become reliant on the state. The public sector and the unemployed are a massive drain on the working private taxpayer, who is the backbone of this country. And I have to say, we're fed up. I'm getting up at 5 a.m. every single day to go to work for Karen and Kevin to get up at midday in their pyjamas, lounge around and probably have a fifth child because the state will pay for it. And that's on the back of the government saying we're going to cut this 2-cap child benefit thing. You know, like, what did she say yesterday, Reeves? We don't want children, she didn't say like that at all, but we don't want children born into poverty. Sorry, this might be contentious at 6:15. I'm all for people having children, and before you throw at me I've got 6, I pay for every one of them. The truth is this: you can't have kids if you can't afford to pay for them. You can't expect the state to continue to fund your procreation. Yes, too, but beyond that, get off your backside and get a job. I don't see how that's harsh. I don't.
No, 100%. And when you get these children that do rely on the state for everything, then they start to really think, OK, then that's, you know, they might vote for a future Labour government. I think this is totally in Labour's benefit to have 1 million more on benefits. Under benefits, because the thing is, it does create this reliance on the state. They might not then vote for a different party. So you can see that it might be this dark and insidious plan just to sort of have everyone rely on them. And you're right, it should be up to the parent to provide for the children. This whole children in poverty thing, I don't buy it, because it was actually basically thought up in lots of thought groups that they would do, sort of, oh, how do we sell this to the nation?
There is right. There is child poverty in this country.
No, there is.
But the
100%.
argument, I mean, the argument that we're going to deal with that by saying have more kids. The fact is, and this is, I'll do this as quickly as I can because Christian will look at me, but I tie this into the illegal immigration problem. Starting with Blair and continued with Boris, we seem to import huge numbers of people into this country to do those jobs that many would describe as menial: hospital porters, restaurant waiters and waitresses, blah, blah, blah. The problem with that was twofold. Not only did that force down wages so that the indigenous population were made to work for less money, but more than that, and I said this to Cameron's face 15 years ago, and he looked at me like I'd landed from Mars, I would stop anybody coming into work. And before you throw at me doctors and nurses, let me explain why. The 4 million who have no pressure on them to work, I want to encourage them to give something back to my society for what I'm giving them. And I want them out of bed so they've got something on their CV. And I want to motivate them to be able to go back to work. So you're going to give me something back for the benefits I give you. I'm not going to rely on people coming into this country. Don't tell me, by the way, this is really contentious, Christian, I'm just warning you. Don't tell me that 4 million people who don't work are disabled or mentally ill. That'll send me through the ceiling. There are people who are mentally ill and disabled who cannot work. Let's make that point so it's out there. But there are many more who are gaming the system, who should be forced to do something and give back in return for what hard-working taxpayers do every single day, wiping their backsides. It's so fundamentally wrong, and I've never understood it. It's so simple to me. Like community service, give me something back. Cut an old lady's grass, paint a fence, get off your backside, stop procreating. I sound like that man that used to do a television show, and give something back to society. What's wrong with that?
You're so right. The best medication for most people to solve depression, to solve anxiety, low level might it be, is to get back to work. Go interact with people. Go and say hello. Go and earn your own money. That is the best help. So you're right. It's very unfair to baby people like this and say, no, sit at home on the taxpayer dollar. No problem at all. Make sure that, you know, we'll provide for you. All good. That's not fair. To sit in a dark room all day and take money from the government, that can't be any good for depression. That can't be any good for anxiety. So I think we really do need to shave this low-level mental health stuff off the system. And then not to mention, we have got 1 million foreign nationals on benefits as well. That's a very easy way to cut out billions of dollars of aid that we're giving these foreign nationals to live in our country, be it that a lot of them are part of the, or were part of the EU.
And do you know the thing about this benefits figure this morning, and it's on the front of every paper, as I say, on the front of the Times, 1 million more on benefits with no need to seek work. What frustrates me even more from the message that sends, which is, you know, you can have a career choice of being on the dole. And by the way, if you feel like ringing and saying you're being really unfair to people who can't work, you do, because I'm not. I'm really happy to pay my taxes for people who genuinely cannot work. But what sticks in my gut even more is I know stories of people who have worked for years, lost their jobs, mums trying to go back to work who have had a baby, I don't know, people who've got to 50 and cast aside. And they go to the same office, the benefits office, to, for the first time in their life, ask for help. They don't get jack. They don't get anything at all.
You're right.
And I find that a system that doesn't look after those who have paid into it should be absolutely ridiculed. I did a show once. This is going to get me into trouble. I did a show once, and I had to live on benefits for a week in Preston, which was quite brave. And I promise you, I'm stood at 7 o'clock the first morning in a street with a microphone and a camera crew, right? And I had to live off 26 quid.
Are you sure the microphone and camera crew was there?
No, this is absolutely true. And I look behind me, and I've got about 15 houses either side. All the curtains are closed, genuinely, 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I'd say 90% of them had a Sky satellite dish outside.
Oh, yeah.
And about half of them had a brand new mobility car. And I'm just saying, if in this country we're saying, don't bother working, we're finished, aren't we? Work is what it's all about.
Completely. And this is on the edge of Rachel Reeves actually raising our taxes for the working people, the people who do go out to work. They are getting their taxes raised because she can't actually make proper reforms to say, no, we shouldn't be, you know, putting all these people on benefits. I haven't actually seen a policy from her to try and shave down all these costs. It is very concerning. And you know what? It says that it's jumped up by over 50%. I think that's a crisis. I think that's a massive crisis. And yes, I mean, you're right. A lot of these claimants, and I do invite anyone to call in and say if that's not the case for you. I know there are a lot of people who genuinely do need benefits, those who are severely disabled, those who have severe mental health issues, a lot of our listeners out there. But you know what? They're not being put an advantage when we're having people that are genuinely, as you said, treating benefits like a lifestyle choice.
Quite right, too. 6:22, that's the start for you. Wednesday morning on Morning Glory, myself and Samara Gill. What do you want to talk about? You're waking up to the news that 1 million more people are on benefits. That's 4 million in total. We're not even encouraging them to go to work. They don't have to go to work. So now I ask, which is going to depress all of you, does work pay? You're also waking up to the news that Donald Trump has doubled down on the fact that he's going to sue the BBC for $1 billion. The lovies inside the BBC are falling over themselves to say, we're wonderful, we're fantastic, our journalism is second to none. Not at all. As ever, please do get involved. 0344 499 1000. Voice notes. We'll head to a break. Oh, here we go. Carl, good morning on the BBC.
Where do I start? It's Carl from Coventry, by the way. I just don't know what to say. I always watch 10 minutes of the BBC before I go to work, just to see what they're putting out. You know, I thought they might have learned something, but they've learned nothing. They put out this thing this morning saying it's from BBC Verify, by the way, Verify. I suppose that means it's the truth. And they were going on about Gaza being bombed again by Israel and how Trump's peace truce is on a very, very slim margin of actually holding out, and it all doesn't look good. But not once, can I just say, not once did they mention that Hamas hasn't given back all the bodies, so we're breaking the truce to start with. No mention of them at all. All that was mentioned, time and time again, Israel bombing, Israel bombing. Look at the pictures we've got to prove that they're bombing, they're bombing, they're bombing. They're anti-Jewish. They're just anti-everything. I cannot stand this programme. I cannot stand the BBC. Come on, let's get together and get rid of it.
In terms of your question around taxes, there are no additional tax rises needed beyond the ones that I've set out.
Don't need to increase taxes. I'm not coming back with more borrowing or more taxes.
I will not increase your national insurance. I will not increase your VAT, and I will not increase your income tax.
We don't need to come back for more. We've done that now. We've wiped the slate clean.
The economic circumstances have declined, deteriorated since a year ago. We are having to look at taxes and spending.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Welcome back. It's Morning Glory. It's Wednesday, the 12th of November. Myself and Samara Gill here on the show, welcoming your involvement. Thank you very much, Steve, for tuning in. If you do want to be part of the debate, as ever, 0344 499 1000. Can I just take a tick? Yesterday, of course, Armistice Day, and we spent a good amount of time, quite rightly, talking about how actually Remembrance Sunday had been a lot better attended, I felt, this year across the country, and the importance of what our forefathers and foremothers did cannot be over-exaggerated, certainly in the world that we live in. And we had Jason on, who had been affected by being a soldier, had suffered from PTSD and addiction, and the Royal British Legion had turned his life around, and he's doing a big sponsored walk. This is really sweet from Damon in Wigan. I just want to say a massive thank you to all the team at Talk for yesterday and the determination and importance you all showed when it comes to Remembrance Day and the proud history Britain has about its fallen heroes. Jez, I was very proud to serve in the British Army, and talking to other veterans yesterday made Britain what it is, a great country. But we all agree that our history is being eroded with the ideology and wokeness of today that has seemingly become our future, which is so sad to see. And for me, it's sad to see where our nation is going. And young children today will never know the true meaning of being proud of Britain. But as long as we have you and other presenters and that team at Talk TV, maybe our future generations will never forget what our fallen heroes went through, and past veterans like me and our present serving forces, men and women, are, and what you've done for Great Britain. Thank you all at Talk for highlighting that. That's nice. I don't read that out to congratulate us. I read it out because it's a really important point. We sit here every day, Samara, and we talk about whether it's 1 million more on benefits, whether it's, I don't know, a woman's got a penis or a man can't say good morning without offending somebody. And I think back yesterday and Sunday about what, you know, our forefathers did and how we fought to give ourselves this country with its liberty and its brilliance, and how so much of what's going on nowadays is eroding it. And we can't ever lose sight of that, can we?
We can't, but I think we have. And I think, obviously, Alec Penstone, who was that veteran on GMB, which it's still sort of his words echo in my mind. He's that 100-year-old veteran. What he said was so true, that we have lost our way as a nation, and the fact that he isn't proud of what he fought for. I mean, at least, you know, every November the 11th, we can actually be a bit grounded and not take for granted what our forefathers fought for. And I think that's really important, especially right now when our country is genuinely unrecognizable. And so, yeah, I mean, Australia, Britain, we all fought for this freedom that now, I mean, really, the younger generation.
She says. How old are you?
I'm not revealing that.
Why
Everyone's going to switch on.
Obsessed with not saying their age. You're in your 20s.
Yeah,
Would that be right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
especially out of my teens. No, I'm joking.
Extraordinary to me that a young lady, am I allowed to say young lady, from Australia is as patriotic and brilliant and has the views that you do. And I've always thought that from the first moment I met you. But the younger generation, my daughter told me the other day at university, a lecturer told us, Samara, the British Army were responsible for every world war. Colonisation, we can never apologise more. We're a disgrace, we're an embarrassment. We abolished slavery. We did an awful lot of good. I know there were mistakes made, and I don't mean to sound like the BBC, But the stuff that went on, we now live in an environment where people want to trash everything with the past, pull down statues. I will forever shout about how great it was in the past. Now, it won't surprise many of you at 6:30 in the morning that we're going to move on to this hapless Labour government. Shall we start with David Lammy or Keir Starmer? Who would you prefer to start with?
Oh, God, you go on. I mean, there's...
Calamity Lammy. Calamity Lammy has confirmed overnight, ladies and gentlemen. This is David Lammy, the Deputy Prime Minister, who went on Mastermind and got 3 out of 100. He's confirmed that 91 prisoners were released by mistake in the past year, with at least 3 still at large, including an Albanian drug dealer who's been on the run for more than a year. The Justice Secretary was accused of endangering the public by his shadow, Robert Jenrick from the Tory party, who'll be on the show later. And it is extraordinary that this guy he's a prime example of how appalling the Labour front bench is. We've got a clip of him. Here he is, the Deputy Prime Minister. This will make you feel he can achieve anything in life. Have a listen, have a watch.
We understand that there are 3 mistakenly released prisoners currently lawfully at large. Their prison records show none of these are convicted sex offenders. I have been informed, Mr. Speaker, this afternoon that HMPPS are investigating a further case of a potential release in error on the 3rd of November who may still be at large.
Potential release. Either he's in the nick or he's on the bleeding run. What does that mean?
Sorry, yeah, exactly. What does that mean? Also, the way that he goes, I can confirm that none of them are sex offenders. Great, but what else might they be? Murderers? Fraudsters? Like, you know, oh, the good thing is they're not sex offenders. I mean, you've already let a couple out under your watch, Lammy. So were you just meant to say, oh, it's fine, they're not a sex offender, they're fine out on the street? I mean, the incompetence is off the scale. And every time he gets up to that dispatch box, he reveals himself to be more and more of this sort of gremlin who's climbed his way to the top.
Gremlin.
He is. I mean, Jenrick absolutely did own him yesterday. I'm glad that Jenrick's now coming on the show. Is he taking a couple of calls later as well?
Maybe, but Lammy, the Mail's great, page 2. We may have lost another prisoner, but we don't really know. I mean, I watched the Labour Party in opposition, right? I watched the Labour Party in opposition, and they didn't have to say anything, Samara. It was that Ming Vase approach, so hapless with the Tories, so actually the British public could stop listening to the Tories. And I remember thinking, I'm listening to this working people, growth, we're going to change it, it's going to be brilliant politics. And then I remember looking at his team and thinking, none of you have had a proper job. You've gone from university to think tank to left-wing well, the Fabian Society, and you're there at whatever age. Lammy is the Deputy Prime Minister of this country. He can't even put a poppy on, and when he does, it's the wrong bleeding angle.
And he's stolen it from a veteran.
Just unbelievable. Anyway, not only is Lammy incompetent, Lisa Nandy's also barking mad. She said that the BBC is the light on the hill. It gets better when you look at these people. Let's bring it to Keir Starmer himself. There are rumblings and rumours that Keir Starmer is under pressure from his own MPs. Front page of the Times today. Keir Starmer has privately vowed to fight any challenge to his leadership after the budget or next year's local elections. Allies of the Prime Minister, all 3 of them, have told the Times that he will not resign in the event of an attempt to remove him, will contest any leadership contest. Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, was forced to issue a denial last night and publicly distance himself from the rumours believed by some in Starmer's circle that he is the centre of the plot.
I mean, the Wes Streeting statement basically said Streeting's not going for Keir Starmer's job at all. He's focusing on getting all the wait lists down and improving the NHS, and basically came up with a string of things that Wes Streeting has achieved, which would be the biggest endorsement for Wes Streeting. So that statement is almost some sort of confirmation of that rumour. But yeah, no, Starmer, this could be the holy trinity this week. If Starmer goes, we've got Starmer, Deborah Turness and Tim Davie. Maybe everything will go to plan.
Now, usually on a Tuesday or Wednesday, Starmer says, I have total confidence, and they're gone by Friday. So I wonder if today he's going to say, I have total confidence in myself, and he'll be gone. I find it astonishing. If I step back a minute, I step back and I think it is astonishing that a man strode into Downing Street, 16 months ago, the biggest post-war majority of 180 nigh on seats. I remember watching the election, as I just said, and I remember thinking, how do I put this? That in Australia, you'll get this. Your tent is so big and you've invited so many people in that when you get elected, you will spend all your life trying to please all the different facets and you will fall on your backside. I believe that the left wing of the Labour Party now in power once more. I think that's why he can't get the benefits thing through.
Yeah,
the
benefits backbench.
The two-child cap's going to be forced. I read overnight, by the way, that they're reconsidering paying off the WASPy women. Well, you said you would, and then you said you wouldn't, and now you said you would. I think he's absolutely hamstrung. I think that you should look beyond Wes Streeting. I know Wes. Sadly, I think he's going to be tainted with the Starmer brush. I tell you, I think you should look at Angela Rayner, Lucy Powell and Andy Burnham. I think those three are going to do whatever they can. But yeah, listen, Starmer, who'd have thought 17 months ago he could be out on his ear by Christmas, please God?
Yeah, I mean, he's presided over one of the worst governments we've ever seen. I mean, his personal approval rating is minus 45%, which is the lowest. Well, it's the lowest since records began. Oh, right. So he couldn't. This has not. Everyone's saying, "Oh, this has come out of nowhere. This has come out of nowhere." No, no, no. And his office came out last night to try and get ahead of this story. Wes Streeting is actually doing the media rounds today. So let's see what he.
Unfortunately, Wes won't come on the show this morning.
Oh, interesting. Why wouldn't he do that?
I'm going to work on that. The Labour Party always used to come on. It's important to see both sides, if only not to have a laugh at them. But apparently
Wes, why don't you come on the show? Jeremy's a very nice guy.
I know him. I mean, they're not allowed. I think he's not allowed to. That's what I think's going on here.
Well, yeah, you're right.
Shall we just play a little clip for you? This will make your Wednesday morning better. Our devoted leader, Sir Keir Starmer, ex-director of public prosecutions, believes that he is presiding over a divided country and can make a massive difference. Morning, Keir.
I think the political divide now is between what I call patriotic national renewal, which is what this Labour government is doing, bringing people together, whether it's partnership working here or across the country, finding those points of connection, or, and this is what I fear, the toxic division of Reform and others on the right in politics, where they're tearing our country apart. Some of the rhetoric we're hearing, racist rhetoric, divisive rhetoric, that frankly I thought we'd dealt with decades ago, is returning to politics, and it makes people feel very scared. And we have to stand up to that racism, to that division, and we have to proudly say that to be British is to be concerned for others, is to be reasonable, is to be tolerant and compassionate, and we're proud of that.
Right, bringing people together. That's why his own party want him to go. That's why this country is divided. I'm not trying to dominate. It's your ground, but I do loathe all these politicians and these institutions who, if we look at Nigel Farage and Reform, have the audacity to say, this is far right, they're tearing their country apart. No, they're just standing up and saying taxes should be lower, our borders should be controlled, our police should be able to arrest people, old people should be able to sit in their house and not feel that they're going to freeze to death, and the young feckless should get off the streets and go to bloody work. That is not far right. Samara, that was conservative stuff when I was brought up.
Well, now it's far right, as you said. I mean, it's clear that he's sort of this rat backed into a corner at this point. You know, when he starts hurling the racist, divisive words out there within interviews, that he really has nothing else to go off. And I think you can see that he's trying sort of to just hurl stuff in the direction of the media, and it's not working, because actually what he's doing is divisive. He's calling basically half of Britain racist and far right with those words. And that's not helping anyone. So he's the one who's created most of this kind of class war, culture war within the country. If you think about how divided this country is to how it was a year ago, that's all happened under Starmer. And I can't think of anyone who's actually vilified the working class man more. I mean, genuinely, he despises his own electorate. He despises the people who voted him in. you know, he also despises people who don't vote for him, who vote for reform. He needs to stop calling reform racist and far right, because that's not what it is. I cannot think of a single policy of reforms that is inclined that way.
I'd call it common sense. Maybe I'm missing the point. Loads to talk about. 20 to 7. You need to be here every morning, according to people. What does Lammy mean? They are currently lawfully at large, says Doug. I've no idea, because I don't think Lammy understands. Hello to Steve in Cambridge. Loving it. I sit here very embarrassed as I have heart failure and ME. And many of the people around my area, Jez, are claiming benefits and working for cash. Some days I can't even walk, but when I can, I do a little volunteering with the local school. I would give one of my arms to be able to work full-time. That, my friends, is the reality of what we're saying. Stevie in Cambridge, thank you. Our thoughts with you. The thing is, right? He's got a disability and he wants to work and he hates the feckless taking advantage. And people like Steve are central to what I'm saying. You're waking up to the news that 1 million more people are on benefits. We've now got 4 million people, right? 4 million who don't have to work, and we're not pressurising them. But in the budget in 2 weeks, if you sat in a traffic jam right now, or I don't know what you're doing, getting the kids' breakfast ready, and you're going to go to work later, your tax is going to pay for 4 million people to sit on their bums. Morning, Kev.
Jeremy, you cheeky git. My name's Kevin. I'm from Birmingham and I work bloody hard. I get up at 4:30 every morning, so can you change that from Karen and Kevin? Thank you.
Very good, right. Thank you very much indeed. He's a very nice man. Kevin in Birmingham, mate. A very good morning to you. I hope it's going well in the country. Right, we're coming back. What do you want to do coming back? I'm going to give you this. The NHS treats women's prostates.
What?
I'm coming
back.
No words. No words. Back in 3.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Top man, by the way, Ian Collins, Monday to Friday between 1 and 4, only here on Talk. They have a free speech and conversation where the nation, Samara, the nation comes to talk.
The nation.
We've upset John in Liverpool.
Oh.
This is really interesting. We were talking about this off air. Whenever we talk about benefits, and it is the main news story today, 1 million more on benefits, meaning that 4 million people in this country do not need to work to get their money. We both absolutely clarified that there are people with disabilities and mental illness who cannot work, and we are both more than happy to go to work to do that. But it is an absolute lie to say that there aren't people who are now gaming society and the system. John in Liverpool says, it's not about work, it's about making people like you and Samara feel better about themselves. Please stop talking like you two are bloody doctors about mental health. You know nothing.
Yeah. I do know nothing about sitting at home while, you know, while paying for other people to go and sit on their ass. I mean, yeah, there are points to be made there. I know people, it's a very touchy subject, this one. I think there are things to look at. I do think that the key problem for us is the foreign nationals on benefits. That is 1 million people that we could get rid of tomorrow if we needed to.
We're actually going to disagree, and I'll take John head on. You've missed the point. There are many, many thousands of people with mental health illnesses in this country. When I went through what I went through, I had a breakdown for 3 months, and I never really understood how bad it can be. And I have always said that. There are many millions of, well, thousands of people with disabilities who cannot work. But if you listen, John, to Steve in Cambridge, who said, I've got ME, I've got heart failure, I would give my right arm to work. You have to admit, John, that there are an increasing number of people who are not genuine claimants, who are gaming a system. And I would simply say this, yes, you're right about mental health. I'm not a doctor, but I can tell you this, there's a lot of people who will tell you, John, that sitting at home, as Samara quite rightly put, on your own, suffering like that is not a way forward. Listen, morning, gang. I feel guilt-ridden daily because I receive disability benefit due to physical and mental health. I worked day and night before my life came to a halt. The worst thing I did, though, was to retire. Work is so important to a person, and I so wish I could be part of something again. But I do fear that when, not if, the government crack down on this problem, I'm scared they will attack the wrong people. She's talking reform. Jennifer, listen, I can only say this. I'm not a spokesperson for reform. I think that it's an issue that needs to be confronted head on. I think there needs to be real honesty. You'll see if you listen back to what we've said, we have absolutely this morning said there are many, many genuine claimants. But I think we are all lying to ourselves if we don't say it's high time we do something about 4 million people. Let me put it like this to you, Jennifer, who are taking benefits that people like you and others might have to lose or have lowered. There are people gaming the system, including foreign nationals. It's a fact, isn't it? It's an absolute fact.
It really is, and there can't be 1 million people in just 1 year that have had really... It's just a statistical impossibility. Absolutely. And the issue is most of the assessments are now done over the phone, which is just great. So the whole system needs overhaul.
Poor messenger, 4 million is unsustainable. We will go bankrupt and then pay nothing. We are taxed to the hilt already. Something has to be done to deal with this system. Good morning to Helen, who says, another day getting up at 5 a.m, small business sector working 6 or 7 days a week. Someone I know told me it doesn't work to pay. Absolutely nothing wrong with them. They admitted they're just not prepared to have to pay. Everything is too expensive. Let's get the government to do it. Those who are genuinely unwell or have a disability, and as Jez says, I am more than happy to help. I feel that's right. But hearing Robin Reed's plans for the budget, I am seriously thinking, what is the point of working? I'm done. She attacks the private sector on a daily basis. Why do I go through this hell? I think that's also a really relevant text. Now, it's 10 to 7, Samara. I'm going to bow to your brilliance. Page 11 of The Sun. You're going to have to help me out, yeah? I don't understand life anymore. Hundreds of transgender NHS patients diagnosed with illnesses that only biological men get were recorded in official figures as women. Analysis by The Sun suggests self-identifying trans patients had their gender noted as female at least 504. Basically, from what I can gather, they're treating women's prostates.
Yes, it says another 41 were treated for disorders of male genitals. 2 had priapism, long-lasting painful erections, and 4 had testicular atrophy. I mean, what?
Sorry, 2 women that went to the NHS, I don't mean to put you off your breakfast this morning, had erection problems.
Yes, that is the current state of the NHS.
I don't know what you're talking
about. I mean, honestly,
shocking.
What are we... Good morning, everyone.
Yeah,
so, yeah, look, the...
I've actually come over quite flustered.
Look,
so not only can women now have penises, they can also have erectile dysfunction.
Yes, welcome. I mean, we really, really need to gut the NHS of all this crap because, as Thomas Godfrey has found, we can't be having this. Honestly, we actually can't because we need to have an NHS that abides by biological facts. It's actually a massive, massive problem when we start.
What you've done there.
When we
not so massive for those people.
Well, when we start recording this stuff, we then get it actually can affect things like research.
Yeah.
It can affect things like funding. There are long-lasting effects of basically just ingratiating people who want to identify as another gender. We can't do this anymore, Jeremy.
I'm lost at. I'm turning into my dad. I'm lost at a woman has erectional. What is this?
Erectile dysfunction.
She knows this better than I do.
Yeah, I really do.
I don't know why you do. Listen, I want to change subject. You see, I'm slightly red around the gills, Samara Gill. You see what I'm saying? I'm slightly red around the gills.
Me too.
I don't know what to say because then I'll launch into this. The world's gone mad. As I keep saying, that Ricky Gervais comment is brilliant. He said, "I'm old-fashioned, you know. I remember when women had wombs," and that's the way it is. I just
centuries ago.
Yes, centuries ago. Now they've got erectile dysfunction. Good morning, you with Morning Glory on Talk, the home of free speech. I want to go back to this annoys me so much, very briefly. Page 14 of the Daily Mail, a dark day for democracy as court rules migrants can remain at the Bell Hotel in Epping. This was the story that we talked about, the world talked about for so long, that the pink ladies out on the streets. There was a migrant hotel next to the Bell Hotel in Epping. A sexual assault took place, and concerned parents were saying this is completely unacceptable. The hotel the council went to court and said, yes, migrants are gone, but the government challenged it, and this has been upheld, which means that despite safety issues for young girls in a school next door, Starmer's government have won this argument and migrants can go back to Epping. Absolutely outrageous.
I will never forget what Lord Justice Bean, aptly named, said. He said the rights of the asylum seekers are above the rights of the British people within that ruling, and you cannot get a more bold-faced assumption of what actually Labour thinks about the British people when it comes to this. I mean, their official government position is, let's get everyone out of asylum hotels. We want to make sure that they're gone by 2029. No, this just shows that it is not in their interest to get people out of asylum hotels. It's a slap in the face to the people of Epping, who have been continuously abused by the government's incompetence. If you think about it, Hadush Kabutu getting a 500, he was the person at the centre of this. He's the illegal sex assaulting migrant who got then accidentally freed from jail. The harrowing words from the girl, the 14-year-old who suffered at the hands of him, the Epping girl, whose life has been destroyed, saying the 500 quid bribe that he got seemed like they were rewarding him for assaulting me. I mean, the town of Epping has just been put through the absolute ringer by the Labour government, and this is kind of the final straw that I think will break the camel's back in this situation. But the problem is Labour won't learn, and the asylum seekers will continue to live there, and the people will continue to feel completely unsafe.
I've got Karen McIver, the branch secretary of Epping Forest Reform Party, on the show later. It's disgusting. I don't understand it. I've sat here and listened to people talk quite rightly about the safety of women. It's the safety of children and women, completely and utterly nonplussed to this government. They're more interested in letting prisoners out. Calamity Lammy. Goodness me, it's 6 minutes to 7. We're back in 3.
Big news coming this December. Our talkTV app is moving to the Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. From Monday, 1st of December, the talkTV app will no longer exist, so don't miss out. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory, JK and Samara. I just want to say very quickly, I completely understand the people about the bills. We're talking about 1 million more people claiming benefit. We're talking about how that's 4 million. People only listen to distinct things you say. Samara and I have repeated throughout the morning, and we will continue to repeat, there are genuinely thousands of people, disabled and mentally ill, who quite rightly are claiming benefit. But those very people who are going, oh, you don't care about us. No, I do. I just don't care for the hundreds of thousands who are gaming the system to the detriment of not only you, genuine people, but also claimants who are not getting any help because the system's being screwed. One final story, you'll love this. Do you have many things delivered to your house, parcels?
Oh, so many.
Do
so
you?
many. I'm an addict online.
Oh, yeah. A staggering
Problem.
5 million households have had parcels stolen by the so-called porch pirates in the past year. £600 million worth. Christian was telling me a story last night, but I just throws it behind the bins, and there are gangs in London following Amazon drivers.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. This is what happens, though, when we don't prosecute petty crime and we just let it go. This is the issue. I mean, people are so desperate that they're taking some sort of lottery with whatever's on your porch. Who knows? It could be like a £2 hair clip, but they are taking their chances.
Not for me. There we go. Listen, it's a slight satellite delay. So there we are. Samara Gill, fantastic. We love you. She'll be back next week. 1 million more claiming benefits. That's 4 million in total. 1,000 people are losing their jobs a day under Reeves. Calamity Lammy's lost 91 prisoners in a year. People are coming out saying the BBC are amazing, but Donald still wants to sue them for $1 billion. You're waking up to so much in this great, wonderful country of ours. We will have the debate in the next 3 hours of Morning Glory. 0344 499 1000 is the only number you need. You can send a voice note, send your text to 87222. Start your message with the word talk. We, my friends, will head to the news at 7, and we'll be back in 3 on Morning Glory.
Libya has become a major transit route for refugees and migrants from sub-Saharan Africa, and many of them come through Libya dreaming of getting to the UK, particularly from Sudan, where there has been a civil war waging for the last 2 years. And those asylum seekers or economic migrants who make it from Sudan to the UK have a 99% chance of being given leave to remain. So I spent several hours talking to immigration chiefs here in Benghazi on the east side of Libya. The Libyan National Army has a very good grip on the immigration problem, albeit fighting against a huge crisis with limited resources. There is a very, very clear process of giving people proper health checks, the life-saving care that they need, and then working out where it is exactly that they've come from. Their message to the UK is that you are fueling this problem. You are effectively advertising a great new life for people from sub-Saharan Africa. They actually said, you know, what do you think happens when a guy from Sudan comes up through Libya and makes his way all the way to the UK and gets put in a luxurious hotel and provided with everything. And make no mistake, it is a perilous journey. We see it from the end point. We see the Channel crossing as the dangerous bit. But actually where these journeys begin is in the hot desert. Many tens of kilometres have to be covered on foot by these migrants, and as many as 1 in 4 do not make it. That means bodies in the desert. The Libyan authorities are having to recover bodies in the desert. About the UK and how much awareness. Please understand the scale of what we are dealing with here with very limited resources. Once again, you know, people come in from charities, from NGOs, they use warm words, and the authorities here told me the only thing that we ever get is maybe a few toothbrushes and some nappies for the babies.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Morning, gang. Welcome to Morning Glory, the home of free speech and common sense on Talk. So much to talk about. We start by saying hello to Julie, my Julie. She's on her way to Paris to a party. I don't know if she's with Darren or not. I don't know why I've done that voice, but I thought I would. It's just gone 7 o'clock. Enjoy Gay Paris. Are you allowed to say that? On the day that I announced that apparently, I'm shocked, women can have a prostate. I'm beyond that. Welcome to the show. So much happening. The main news stories that you're waking up to. 1 million more people are claiming benefits without the need to look for a job, meaning, my friends, that 4 million people, for the first time in our history, are claiming benefits. Now, whenever we talk about this subject, and I've said this all morning and I will continue to say it, there will be people on benefits who cannot work through mental illness and disability who are terrified that because this subject is approached, they're going to lose. Let me nail my opinion. Talk's opinion, I guess, is the same, I hope, and sane people. I believe in a system that says pay your taxes to help people who can't help themselves. I believe that that is the very essence of what this country should be about, and I'm happy to go to work to do that. But I am not happy to go to work, as I know millions of you aren't, for people who have no incentive, who've made a choice to sign on rather than go to work and climb the greasy pole, people from other countries who managed to be getting benefits without putting anything into the pot, to the detriment of not only those who are genuine claimants, but also people who perhaps work for a while and then find themselves where they need help and they get absolutely nothing. So for the people who are texting going, you and Samara don't care about those with mental illness or disability. No, I do. I do absolutely. There's so many responses to this. I really, listen to this. This is Nick in Manchester. Morning, Jez and Samara. I have PTSD and a traumatic brain injury and spinal and neurological issues. I tried working 3 times, but kept making mistakes, and I struggled to concentrate and kept falling over and blacking out. Yet the PIP assessor ignored or downplayed my fears and blackouts, so I have to basically crack on with it. The truth of the matter is, Jez, and I want to say this, right? I don't want to be on benefits. I have to be because of my health issues. But what winds me up, I'm guessing, is that other people are taking advantage. He, Nick in Manchester, is the very reason we have a benefit system. He's tried, he can't, he deserves 1,000,000% our help. But if you're gaming the system, I'm sorry, I don't know what you think. I don't think you do. What do you make of that? 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. You're also waking up to the news that 1,000 jobs a day are going under Rachel Thieves. It's 180,000 since January. Can this woman seriously just go? Incompetence. It's just extraordinary. Donald Trump, overnight, he's going to sue the BBC for $1 billion. He's doubled down on that, and all the lovies in the BBC are running around saying, this is Trump trying to control us. No, it's because you're incompetent, you're biased, and you've made mistake after mistake, starting with Savile, Harris, good Lord, where do we end? Hugh Edwards, the IDF man, the Bob villain shouting death, death to the IDF. Time for the BBC to take a long, hard look in the mirror. And perhaps the greatest / saddest moment of all today is Calamity Lammy. Yes, David Lammy, our Justice Secretary and Deputy Prime Minister, admitting yesterday that 91 prisoners have been released by mistake in the past year, of which 3 are at large. They think, but they're not sure, including an Albanian drug dealer. Later on, the Shadow Justice Secretary, Robert Jenrick, who skewered Lammy yesterday, will be on this show. So much to get your teeth into. Morning, JK, says Jason in South Wales. Trouble with the benefit system for genuine people who fall on hard times and seek help but get nothing is down to not knowing how to play the system. They are missing out. Chris in West Sussex, Jez, you're 100% right about kids. You should only have them if you can afford them and give them the best life you can. Our family want a dog, but guess what? We can't afford to have one due to the cost of feeding and looking after them. So therefore, sensible choices need to be made. This is surely common sense as a parent, isn't it? Absolutely. Good morning, Amy.
Morning, Jeremy. It's Amy from Southwark. If you're trying to get back into work, like myself, it's all very well saying go back to work, but there's people, many people that I know as well, that are trying desperately to get back into work and are not hearing back. So there's also that needs to be discussed. You seem to have a problem or a mental health problem or be different in some way to actually get your foot in the door. If you're just a normal, white, working class woman or man of around my age, coming up to 40, you don't get a look in. It's very, very difficult.
I think it's a really interesting point, Amy, and I really appreciate the voice note. I'm going to tell a story that I apologise if I've told it before, but it is really salient in this. I like what she's saying. She wants to go to work. We've got a system where people try and work and can't get answers. People have tried working on benefits through issues quite right, and we've got people scamming the system. I've told the story before of a friend of mine's partner's daughter's boyfriend, very successful, got an economics degree, had done internships in banks, wanted to get into the financial sector. Really good kid, intelligent 22-year-old kid. Sent off 200 applications over, I guess, about a year. Didn't hear back from any. Somebody jokingly said to me, "You'll think I'm mad, but if you change 2 words on your CV, you'll definitely get response." He wrote down non-binary as he was advised to, and he had 4 interviews within a month. And that, my friends, whether some people like that or not, sums up where we are at in the United Kingdom. We say a very good morning to former Labour MP and Reform defector Simon Danczuk. Morning, Si. How you doing?
Good morning. Good to join you.
You too, my friend. We're waking up to the news that 1 million more people are now claiming benefits without, and I think this is really important, Si, the need to look for work. And we've reached 4 million. And I've qualified because what happens when you have this debate is people who go, but I'm disabled, I'm mentally ill, a Reform government or you people are saying I'm going to lose it. No, we're not. These are the people the system was set up to help. In essence, it's the people that are gaming the system, yes?
Absolutely, it's people gaming the system, and it's on Labour's watch, isn't it? This has gone up. They can't blame the previous administration, as they have done for so many other things. This has happened over the last 12 months while Labour have been in control, and there's no doubt about it that people see a Labour government as a government that hands out free money, and they're taking it. And that's the major problem that we have. And what's going to get worse is that we're going to see Rachel Reeves in the forthcoming budget get rid of the 2-child benefit cap. So there's even more free money for people who are on benefits. I mean, this is not sustainable for Britain, I have to say. We are running into an economic disaster.
You were a Labour MP, you defected. It's quite interesting that some of the decisions that need to be made by Starmer, like, you know, quelling the welfare budget, making decisions, the Labour Party will not let him go through. You touched upon then the 2-child cap benefit. For people, I'm just going to explain it in layperson's terms. In this country, if you have 1 kid, you get, I think, about £26 a week. Second one, 17. And it was capped at that. It was capped because I thought successive governments quite rightly said, look, you know, you should only have kids if you can afford to pay it. I listened to Rachel Reeves yesterday going, we shouldn't be allowing kids to be born into poverty, so we're going to abolish that and give you whatever it is a week for as many kids as you want. surely, with respect, you shouldn't have those kids, Simon, if you can't afford them. And if you rely on a state that's skint to deflect money from worthy causes and people who need it towards the feckless sitting around procreating the whole time.
Yeah, well, that's the philosophical debate, isn't it, between Labour and other political parties. Labour seem to think that the state is there to provide handouts and to look after the public, whatever situation they find themselves in. But the alternative to that, and I would support this, is that people have to look after themselves primarily. That has to be the responsibility, that people look after their own children. It's not for the state to continually look after people's children. So, I mean, this is the crux of the whole political debate. And Labour are getting this badly wrong. And that's why Starmer is in such a position. He has no choice but to support, in an attempt to hold on to his premiership, his backbench Labour MPs are out to get him if he doesn't make some of these changes. That's the situation he finds himself in.
Let's talk about him, actually. In front of the Times this morning, Starmer vows to defend the leadership from feral Labour MPs. Sources inside Number 10 yesterday saying that he will fight back against people willing or starting to talk behind his back. They seem to put pressure on Wes Streeting. Now, Wes has been a fan on this station many times. He's on the Labour round this morning and refusing to come on talk, which is very interesting to me. But whether it's Wes Streeting or Angela Rayner or Lucy Powell, it won't be Calamity Lammy, he'll be gone. It's hardly surprising. It's shocking to think it was only 17 months ago he strode into Downing Street, but he has to be, without being personal, one of the most incompetent, impractical and just a failure in the job by a mile, Simon. I'm not surprised that they're gearing up to throw him out, are you?
No, not at all. Just to explain it to your to listeners and viewers, I mean, this is unprecedented. With it less than 18 months into his premiership, you've got a Labour Prime Minister, and he's orchestrated this, coming out publicly saying he won't be beaten by his internal rivals. That's what he's having to do. In the run-up to the 26th of November budget, he's exceptionally vulnerable to a challenge, and he's having to come out and name people. Spokespeople for the Prime Minister are going out naming Wes Street and Shabana Mahmood as potential challengers. And doing that deliberately to try and prop up Keir Starmer, because, as you say, he's such a poor leader that he's vulnerable to somebody taking over from him. And we've never, I can't recall seeing this in my 30-odd years in British politics.
Interestingly, he says, he wipes all the text off the screen because he's completely incompetent technically, that's me. Interestingly, Wes Streeting's just been on Sky denying being behind any sort of plot, talking about pledging billions of pounds for patient care, doing what all politicians do, deflecting. But I look at, you were a Labour MP. I wanted to bring in Calamity Lammy. I know he's sort of now got that title, but you do look at Starmer and then you look at that front bench and you just, I mean, my head is in my hands this morning. 91 prisoners released by mistake in the past year. Calamity Lammy, the man who doesn't even know to wear a poppy, stands up yesterday and says there are 3 still at large, including an Albanian drug dealer. I think, but I'm not sure. How in the name of God, Simon, seriously, does somebody as appallingly thick as David Lammy get to where he's got to? Because we need to call it out. It's not even funny. The man's as incompetent as they come, isn't he?
Yeah, I was saying this on X just a couple of days ago. David Lammy has been over-promoted. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And people within the Parliamentary Labour Party, remember, I were in the Parliamentary Labour Party for 7 years, so I know many of the people involved in all these stories. And it's well regarded that Lammy is over-promoted, not least because he's big mates with Starmer. This is the North London Labour elite who are looking after themselves. He shouldn't be in the position that he's in. And and now he's Deputy Prime Minister. He was given that as a sop for having the Foreign Secretary job taken off him. I mean, the guy is over-promoted, shouldn't be doing what he's doing. He should at best be on the back benches.
At best, I'm wondering how he became an MP. So you're waking up to the story that 1 million more people, that's 4 million in total, are signing on without any incentive to work. We're asking this morning on Morning Glory, how do we get people back to work, and does work pay? What do you make of that? 87222. Start your message with the word talk. Your voice notes always welcome. 0344 499 1000. Simon Danshut with us, former Labour MP. Simon, I can't let you go before we talk about the BBC. This has been rumbling on for days. Overnight, Donald Trump confirming on Fox News that he will indeed sue the Beeb for $1 billion. This was Donald overnight. Have a watch.
Are you going ahead and suing the BBC?
Well, I guess I have to. You know, why not? Because they defrauded the public, and they've admitted it. And their top echelon,
Director General and the CEO,
this
both
is
resigned.
within one of our great allies. You know, this is our supposedly our great ally, BBC. The government has a chunk of that one, I guess, but that's a pretty sad event. They actually changed my January 6th speech, which was a beautiful speech, which was a very calming speech, and they made it sound radical. And they actually changed it. What they did was rather incredible. They're showing me the results later on, the results of what they did, how they butchered it up. But it was very dishonest, and the head man quit, and a lot of the other people.
Simon, I've been saying for about 3 days that taking Trump aside, because, yes, of course, he's going to do that because that's Donald Trump. What really sticks in my gut is that all of these lovies come out. Lisa Nandy's saying they're a light on the hill. John Simpson, you know, we're under attack. Nick Robinson from the far right. No, let's list it again, shall we, people? Jimmy Savile, Hugh Edwards still getting £200,000 a year. A Hamas documentary we paid as licence fee payers to a Hamas official's son. Two news stories a week having to be retracted because they're biased on the Gaza war, anti-Israeli. Bob Villan stood on stage at Glastonbury being streamed shouting death, death to the IDF. The list goes on. Martin Croxall, that fantastic female newsreader, being censured by BBC Verify for changing pregnant people to pregnant woman. Simon, the BBC's rotten. It's biased, isn't it? This is beyond Trump, isn't it, pal?
Yes, absolutely. This is the British Broadcasting Corporation damaging our reputation across the world. I mean, this has damaged our relationship with the United States and the president there. And it goes beyond that, doesn't it? It's not sustainable. The BBC in its current form is not sustainable. And I suspect any political party that comes out and says they will cut the licence fee, they'll make it subscription or whatever else, radically reform it, will get a lot of votes at the next general election. And that's what reform stands on. I'm not sure if any of the other parties will, but we can't go on with the BBC in its current form.
I think, and Nigel said it yesterday, and you're saying it today, I think you know, not even about reform. Somebody needs to go, the playing field needs to be levelled. You're getting £5.39 billion a year. There's definitely a left-wing ideology, a centrist liberal left-wing ideology. You're supposed to be the state broadcaster. You're supposed to be straight down the middle. You are patently not. And that means that those of us who are paying for you have a right to complain. That's how I see it, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the good news from this is that it's flushed out all the lefty liberals, hasn't it? We know who all they are, and we know what they stand for. But it cannot carry on in this current form, and there has to be radical change. And that's what the public are calling for. They've had enough.
You're a good man. We love to have you on. Are you going to stand for reform in the next election?
Oh, well, that's to be seen. If they want me, then I will do. But I mean, I've got plenty on my plate as it is.
You're a good man, Simon Danshut. Thank you for being on. Former Labour MP, Reform defector, 7:20. Loads of you responding to all the stories today. 4 million people on benefits. Donald Trump's going to sue the BBC. And Calamity Lammy admits that 91 prisoners have been released by mistake in the last 12 months. Mary Wright says native people are competing for jobs with too many people from other countries because of our border situation. Bernie says, what has happened? People are not embarrassed to be on benefits anymore. Good morning, Jez, says Simon in Essex. Here's a top tip for saving the NHS money. Make it illegal for women to receive any male medical treatments, including a prostate set. Yeah, please, it's too early in the morning. We're back in 3. Oh, hold on. Chris, good morning.
Hi, I'm Chris. So I'm a veteran. I suffer with PTSD. I'm currently self-employed and have been for a while, just about to get screwed over by the next budget. I'm currently working with 3 cracked ribs, but yeah, I can't afford to work like stuff at home.
Big news coming this December. Our talkTV app is moving to the Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. From Monday, 1st of December, the talkTV app will no longer exist, so don't miss out. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory 7:25. Delighted to be joined now, live, probably in his garden. No, I'm joking. Robert Jenrick, Shadow Justice Secretary. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, how are you?
You didn't do the leaves, did you, Jenrick? I told you to clear it up if you were coming on again. It's just not good enough. I'm very well.
I'll get my broom out. I'll get my broom out.
Just to let people know who love to call Rob, our very creative new feature. He'll be here next Tuesday. We're looking forward to that. Robert, thank you for joining us. So much to talk to you about. I guess I want to start with the main news story of the day. All over the Times and other newspapers, 1 million more on benefits who don't need to seek work means that 4 million people in this country are claiming. We've made the point all morning, and it will upset certain people because when you raise this issue, genuine people with mental illness and disability go, oh my God, my benefits are under fire. No, my view was that's what the system is for, but it's being gamed, is it not, by too many lazy people, and we need to get better at this, don't we?
Yeah, look, we all want a safety net, don't we? And proper protection for those people who can't work. But we can't live in a country where millions and millions of people are out of work claiming benefits. We just can't afford that. And it's unfair on working people who right now getting up across the country, taking their kids to school, going out to work for long shifts. We've got to get those people back. Get people back into the workplace. And at the moment, what's this Labour government doing? They're doing completely the opposite. They've hiked taxes on businesses. Rachel Reeves' disastrous national insurance increase in her budget last year, which has meant that employers are actually shedding jobs, just at the time where we want those jobs to be being put forward and people being brought back into the workplace. And unemployment has been rising month after month after month, and now it's the highest level that we've known since those unique situations that we had during the pandemic. I'm really worried about the budget at the end of the month. Reeves looks like she's going to increase taxes all over again, which is going to put investment off, mean more jobs are going to be lost, stagnating economic growth. And for working people, it's going to mean that their taxes rise, because we're being told that Rachel Reeves is going to increase income tax. Flagrant breach of her manifesto pledge. If she does that, in my view, she should go, because she will have lied to the British public.
When you look at it all, just me asking you this, when you look at where we've fallen in 17 months, taxes, crime, the border, benefits, internationally, did you imagine it would be this bad, genuinely? Did you?
No, look, I didn't. I knew it would be a bad government, but none of us thought it could be quite this bad. The country's in a mess right now, isn't it? Let's be clear. You've got taxes rising, unemployment going up, stagnating economic growth, strikes in the NHS, our borders are open. We've got prisoners walking free, and a Justice Secretary yesterday not even able to say whether prisoners are in or out of jail. There's one, he doesn't even know if he's been released or not. I don't know if he's checked his cell, but he couldn't even tell it was such a chaotic situation. And then we wake up this morning to these reports in the press that Keir Starmer is now so weak and paranoid that he's turning on his own cabinet ministers and is kind of machine gunning ministers in his own government. He needs to just get on and run the country, get a grip of these challenges that are facing the country.
You put it so well, you've jumped in front of me. I wanted to ask you about Calamity Lammy, because you absolutely nuked him, didn't you, yesterday? Confirming that 91 prisoners have been released by mistake in the past year since Labour came to power. At least 3 are still at large, including an Albanian drug dealer. He's been on the run for a year. But yes, the incompetence of David Lammy, I'm not taking anybody's side. It's absolutely shocking. He said, I think they've escaped. I think they're at large. I'm not really sure. He must be, I mean, many of them are, one of the best examples of somebody unfit for that great job. And a really important job, a job that you shadow. It is beyond comprehension that the Justice Secretary, the Deputy Prime Minister, doesn't even damn well know, Robert, whether somebody, as you said, is in a cell or isn't in a cell. What is he doing all day?
I have no confidence in David Lammy, and I've yet to meet anyone who does. He came to Parliament yesterday and admitted that a prisoner is being accidentally released from prison basically every other day. That 91 have been released accidentally since the spring. It may in fact be more than that, because there are some people he doesn't know whether they were in jail or not, such is the state of our prisons right now. And he basically tried to cover up these statistics, didn't he? He wouldn't say last week, when he stood in for Keir Starmer at Prime Minister's Questions, and eventually was dragged kicking and screaming to say so yesterday. Why? Because it's a total embarrassment, and this is endangering the public. We laugh about it, and David Lammy, yeah, is a complete joke. But this is actually very serious, because you've got dangerous criminals like sex offenders out on the streets of our country, making a mockery of our criminal justice system, wasting police time as manhunts are being set off left, right and centre across the country. Victims of these terrible crimes are extremely worried. Remember the testimony last week of the Epping victim, the young girl who was sexually assaulted there and was worried that her assaulter might come back to Epping and she might meet him once again. She couldn't get to sleep at night. That's the human cost of what's happening right now. And yet we've got a Justice Secretary who frankly doesn't have a clue. And I have no confidence in his ability to get a grip on this situation.
I love the fact that sadly, that you touched upon the Epping story, and you're right, that girl's testimony. It seems to me we now live in a country under a government that does more for the people who perpetrate crime than the victims. But as the Shadow Justice Secretary, I'd love your response. The High Court judge yesterday saying asylum seekers should stay at the Bell Hotel in Epping. And just for people just tuning in, this is a hotel full of migrant men, not women and children, next to a girls' school, a school that has teenage girls, where a girl was sexually assaulted, whose life has been blighted, where caring mothers, the Pink Ladies, took to the streets with placards saying, we want to protect our kids. The council, God bless them, went to court and said, yes, you've won, no more migrants. Our own government, Robert, our own government got that retracted, verified yesterday, and those migrants, and we're not saying that all of them are sexual offenders, but there are fears and they are genuinely well-grounded, will be able to live in the Bell Hotel. What does that say about our justice system, and what more does it say about a government who don't care about female safety? It's appalling.
It's a total disgrace. And at one point, remember, the Home Office argued that the rights of illegal migrants should take priority over the rights of residents of towns and communities like Epping. Can you believe that? The Home Office of our country was saying that the rights of people who've broken in on small boats should take precedence over the mums, the grandmas, the hard-working, decent people who are out on the streets of Epping, worried about the safety of their children and their grandchildren. That hotel should obviously close, as should all of the asylum hotels. How do you do that? Well, by detaining and deporting everyone who arrives here illegally. Enough is enough. The patience of the British public has totally snapped. Frankly, it snapped a long time ago on this issue, as you saw in those protests, and protests elsewhere across the country, in Altrincham, in Fareham, in communities the length and breadth of the United Kingdom, who simply do not want this problem to continue for a day longer. Is Keir Starmer going to do that? Look, I don't think so. He is not doing what's necessary, which is to leave the ECHR, scrap our broken human rights laws, detain everyone who steps foot on our soil illegally, and then get them out of the country, either back home to their own country or to a safe third country like Rwanda or wherever it may be. We know how to fix this problem. We've known for a long time. That's why I resigned from the cabinet 2 years ago, because it was obvious to me that there was a solution to this. We just got to get on and do it. That is what the British public are crying out for now.
Couldn't agree more. If you're the Justice Secretary, you wake up this morning and that judge has made that decision. A and 1, was that judge wrong or right? B and 2, if you're the Justice Secretary, do you fire that judge? What do you do?
Well, I think the law is actually the big problem here. We're a party to outdated human rights laws, like the European Convention on Human Rights, which may have been signed up to, written for noble reasons a generation or two ago, but now do not reflect the nature of modern life. They were created long before illegal migration existed as it does today. Winston Churchill and the signatories of the ECHR could never have imagined that what they were signing up to was going to be misused in this way. So it's time to leave those treaties now and put the British people first. Bring back these laws to our own country and secure our borders. Because I come to this from the simple perspective that a country that doesn't have borders is not really a country at all. And we've got to get a grip of this once and for all.
2 very straight questions to finish. You've been great. You talked about a briefing by Number 10 against possible leadership candidates. We're streeting on the round this morning saying it's nothing to do with me. You said taking a machine gun to his own ministers. Would you welcome a plot to remove Keir Starmer?
Well, I think Keir Starmer is one of the worst prime ministers in my lifetime, and what we've seen in the last 24 hours just shows how weak he's become, and paranoid, the fact that he's turning against his own cabinet. This is not a way to run this country, but particularly at a time when we're facing such serious challenges. I just want him to get back to his day job, which is actually trying to fix Britain, to tackle the backlogs in the NHS, to secure our borders, to raise living standards for people who are hard up right now. That's what this man should be focused on, not in the internal civil war in the Labour Party that's now broken out into the open and is consuming all of their time. Get back to doing the job that we actually elected him to do. fix our country,
it's quite
make
interesting
people's
'cause
lives better.
I sit here and I think he is, as you said, possibly the most incompetent, least qualified person ever to be the Prime Minister of the country. And then I look at his front bench, Robert. I look at Calamity Lammy, and we'll laugh, but I don't mean it disrespectfully. I look at Rayner had to go. Louise Haigh was a criminal. The Transport Secretary, Yvette Cooper's failed in every job she's gone to. I will say this, and I'm not pro-Labour, the only one, and I'm not sure whether she's making a pitch or is saying it just for the sake of saying it, the only one that speaks the sort of language that you begin to think is correct-ish is Shabana Mahmood. I have no idea, but they are supremely underqualified if you look at them. And I think people's faith in this government has eroded in a really, really short time. I mean, can you imagine 17 months after striding into Downing Street with the biggest post-war majority? We're talking about, I mean, the Tories managed 3 in about 3 weeks. I mean, that was pretty unprecedented. But this is also, for the Labour Party, completely unprecedented, isn't it?
Yeah, no, this is a government that feels like it's in the end of days. This is a government that feels like it's got months left to live, and yet, in theory, it may drag on for 3.5 years. And my worry is actually for the country. Imagine the harm that can be done with 3.5 years of this rudderless government continuing. It's really almost sad to think of what will come to the country in this time. What can I do? Hold them to account every step of the way. Ensure that we are showing a better way and coming forward with serious answers to how we do fix the country, get people's living standards up, get homes built, secure our borders, tackle crime with this growing sense of lawlessness right now in our country. That's what I've got to do in the months ahead.
Final question, you've been great as ever. Big furore with the BBC. I think massive problems underneath, but of course Donald Trump is at the forefront of this. He apparently has verified overnight he's going to sue the BBC for $1 billion for defamation. My question to you is simple. Is Donald Trump right to sue the BBC, Robert Jenrick?
Well, I don't know the ins and outs of whether he's got a claim or not, but the BBC should obviously just apologise to him, do so sincerely for what it's done. But the bigger issue is what is the future of the BBC? They've got to use this moment to actually change their ways, represent the country properly, weed out all of the bias that we've seen in recent times. And if they don't, then I don't know if there's a future for the BBC licence fee. If they want it to be sustainable now and into the future, the BBC as an organisation has got to fundamentally change.
Just to finish, there you are again, putting yourself in the front line. Robert Jenrick, you went to a car boot sale, which in itself, in my world, is brave enough, because I've always got this thing about car boot sales. If you don't want it, just take it to the bloody tip. Anyway, off you went to a car boot sale, talking about... and you were threatened by a balaclava-clad car boot seller who was rather rude to you. Please, pray... We've got a video. This is poor Robert Jenrick being abused at a car boot sale. Never go to them. They're awful. Have a watch.
Yeah, otherwise we'd... Where do you think they get... How much did you get that for? 100 quid? That's a bargain, isn't it? Otherwise we'd... Where do you think...
No, f*** off. We own this, please. Just move on.
So it's Sunday morning and we're at Hounslow car boot sale. This is one of the worst car boot sales in the country for selling stolen tools. Hundreds, thousands of tools. Lots of tools have got tradesman's marks on them.
If I didn't know better, I'd say you're looking for a new career as an investigative journalist, Jenrick. You're being abused on a Sunday morning. This is brilliant. Good man. How was the car boot sale? Are you a fan?
Well, I like car boot sales, don't get me wrong, but the problem right now is that tradesmen, who are some of the most hard-working people in our country, are having their vans broken into and their tools stolen, and then they're being sold in plain sight at car boot sales right up and down the country. And I've been to 2 or 3 of them now. I went to Hounslow at the weekend, and you could see literally thousands of tools being sold there, and everyone knew what was going on. I spoke to the vendors. They knew what they were doing. They couldn't explain where they were getting the tools from. It was obvious that many of them, perhaps all of them, are actually nicked. And it's a total disgrace. We need the police to step up, to raid these car boot sales. We need the councils to be in there, closing them down if necessary. because we've got to have tradesmen's backs. We can't allow their tools to be stolen with impunity and their livelihoods to be wrecked as a result. And this is now an epidemic in our country. No one here in Westminster is talking about it.
Of course not.
They don't care about this issue. So I had to go to the car boot, so I'm going to keep on raising this until something actually happens and we get a grip on this problem.
Great work. Listen, it's been fantastic. Final question. This is from Christian. You know Christian very well. Has Robert Jenrick ever been on a personal level to a car boot sale and sold anything from the Jenrick household for money?
No, I haven't done a stall at a car boot sale. Maybe I should do. You're giving me an idea. I've got a lot of stuff in my garage, so
there you go.
Maybe I could do one at the new car boot
so
sale.
did Donald Trump.
I do like going to car boot
So did
sales.
Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Hopefully it won't be classified. Listen, Robert Jenrick, seriously, top man. Thank you for coming on. Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick, who will be with us on Tuesday for our fantastically well-named feature, Call Rob, which is basically... Oh, it's called Ring Rob. It's not called... Oh, sorry. Rewind. I got that creatively wrong. We've gone beyond Call Rob. That would be Call Soul, wouldn't it? Ring Rob. Next Tuesday on Morning Glory, where you can ring Robert Jenrick and ask him a question. Can I say something that I genuinely believe, and I say every time? I promise you this, and everybody knows my feelings about the political situation in this country. If that man was the leader of the Conservative Party right now, the political landscape in this country would be markedly different. Good morning. It's Morning Glory.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Good morning, my friends. It's Morning Glory on Talk, the home of free speech, where the nation is coming to talk. So many of you getting involved this morning. You're waking up to the news that 1 million more, which means 4 million people in total, are now claiming benefits without the need to work. I'm asking, how do we get people back to work? And actually, really sadly, does work pay? Overnight, Donald Trump confirming he will sue the BBC for $1 billion, and the lovies are up in arms. Our great institution is under attack by that vile orange man baby. And the best story of all of the morning, well, not best, it's appalling. Calamity Lammy has confirmed that 91 prisoners, do you know what? I'm going to play this to you. 91 prisoners since Labour came to power have been released by mistake 3 are still at large, including an Albanian drug dealer who's been on the run for a year. This was Calamity Lammy with the poppy at the wrong angle yesterday in the Commons.
We understand that there are 3 mistakenly released prisoners currently lawfully at large. Their prison records show none of these are convicted sex offenders. I have been informed, Mr. Speaker, this afternoon that HMPPS are investigating a further case of a potential release in error on the 3rd of November who may still be at large.
May still be at large. Not sure. Brilliant. Vanessa Frake, former prison governor, a very good morning to you. I'm sorry, Vanessa, you and I know each other. You're laughing. You're much more balanced than me. He has to be the most incompetent idiot I have seen at the dispatch box in my 60 years. He doesn't even know, Vanessa Frake, whether they've escaped. 91? Come on. It's appalling.
Well, thank you for putting a smile on my face first thing this morning, Jeremy, for showing that. Look, the man is absolutely, completely clueless. You know, I watched him on Mastermind and that did it for me. But look, this government will just not get a grip of the prison service with him in charge. And, you know, if I was one of his advisors, I'd be going out the door pretty quick. Because
what is it about him that is? How does he not know? Is my first question. But secondly, this man who pontificates, Deputy Prime Minister, 91 prisoners under Labour's jurisdiction have been released, Vanessa Frake, by mistake. Can you explain to me how the hell that happens?
Well, I mean, it's very difficult to explain how it happens. The fact that it has happened is what's the issue to me. I mean, I think, you know, David Lammy said, last week, that he was going to introduce this fantastic IT that was going to sort sentence calculations out, because at the moment, you know, it's still being done with pen and paper and a calculator by a human, and that's open to human error. But he says he's going to put, within weeks, IT in. He just does not know how the justice system works. That's not going to happen. I guarantee now. And this guy is just going from bad to worse. And honestly, when he was appointed Justice Secretary, my heart sank. What's worse, actually, is if something happens to Starmer and he takes the role of Prime Minister. That would do it for me. But look, I think his lack of knowledge of the prison estate, his lack of consultation with prison governors, his pontificating about nothing is ridiculous. And he's looking a laughing stock. But worse than that, he's making the prison service look a laughing stock.
I agree with that. And let's just, we haven't got an awful lot of time, but let's also, I mean, he was at pains to point out these weren't sex offenders. These are still serious criminals endangering the public, as Robert Jenrick said just now. That is a fact. The British public have a right to go, hold on a second, we're about to be taxed even more. And people who break the law, who might eventually be prosecuted, end up in jail and they can almost walk free. I mean, I don't know why Wandsworth's even got a front gate. I mean, literally, the public deserve more, don't they?
Oh, completely, absolutely. You know, the mantra, the prime statement of the prison service, Jeremy, is, you know, to keep in custody those sent by the courts to protect the public. And clearly, you know, this is failing and failing badly. You know, 91, we're not even up to March 26, so God knows what the final figure's going to be. But this guy has either got to go or he's got to get a grip. That's his choice. Personally, I think he's got to go.
I couldn't agree more. It's always lovely to have you on. Vanessa Frake, former prison governor at 10 to 8, talking about that astonishing. Calamity Lammy has confirmed that 91 prisoners were released by mistake in the last year. 3 are on the run. 1's a drug dealer, they think, but they're not sure. That's the world we live in at 10 to 8. We're live across the United Kingdom. This is JK on Morning Glory. Hello to Maggie. She says, I like Jenrick, but let's not forget it was the Tories that started putting illegals in the hotels in the first place. Andy and Thatcham. Unfortunately, Jenrick talks really well, but he's wasting his breath. I don't trust any Conservative after 14 years. They're as bad as Labour. And just very quickly from Jenny and Bicester, responding to that news that migrants can now live back in that Epping hotel, which is appalling. The Epping case was a breach in planning laws, so the High Court judge ruled that planning breaches are OK. Has the judge just given free licence to breach planning? Unintended consequences. All I know, Jenny and Bicester, is that mothers and fathers concerned about their daughters in a school next to a migrant hotel got the council to agree to go to court, and they say this is unsafe. And our own government went, nah, forget young girls' safety, forget women's safety. It's all about putting the migrants first. That is the reality of this Labour government. Let's go to the break with... Oh, morning, Laura.
Morning, Jeremy. Laura from London. I just feel that there is a lack of accountability and consequence for decision-making processes across the public sector, whether you're talking the NHS, the government, the police, the Home Office, the BBC, to name a few. Whatever they do that creates detrimental outcomes for UK British people, there's never any consequences for those people who do that. You know, when you sue an NHS trust, taxpayer picks up the bill. Coming onto our shores illegally, no accountability, taxpayer will pick up the bill. Rachel Reeves removing the 2-child cap because she doesn't feel children should be penalised. So what, parents don't have to be held accountable to pay for their children? Don't worry about it, taxpayer will pick up the bill.
The great irony, of course, is that for the past few years, the BBC has been presenting itself as an island of truth in a sea of misinformation. It keeps putting out these adverts saying you're being misled by the internet, you're being misled by all these demagogues online, you know, be careful, don't trust everything you see. But they were pumping out their own misinformation the whole time. They were doctoring footage of President Trump. They've been lying to us. And some of us always suspected that, and now we have the hard proof.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube. on the app, on your mobile. The home of common sense. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory, 5 to 8. So much in the next hour. We lead off with Esther McVey, former Minister for Common Sense, will be on Morning Glory and have her say. And Karen McIver, the branch secretary of Epping, where the judges continue to support the government overnight and says it's OK for migrants to live in hotels right next to teenage girls' schools because, let's be honest, migrants are more important than the safety of women in this country. Good morning, Andy. How are you?
Morning, Jeremy. Andy from Hull here. Great show as usual. How on earth are prisoners getting released accidentally too early? It's crazy. I just can't get my head around it. I mean, you go to the post office without the right information, like your passport or driving licence, and the little old dear behind the counter won't give you the parcel. So, but she's 82. How are these guys getting released? There must be something. It's crazy. We're living in a clown world, an absolute clown world, Jeremy. Anyway, you have a good day. You've got to laugh or you'll cry.
I think you're right. I love the analogy. You go to the post office, old dear's 82, you can't have your parcel and need everything. But it's true. We say the point that he makes, Andy, so well is, can you explain to anyone with a brain cell how 91 people going from their cell to the games room or the breakfast room have managed to walk out the front door and go, do you know what? I don't fancy prison anymore. I'm just going to head off, get myself a McDonald's, just get out, see my mates. Just going to go, if that's all right. So many of you talking about this benefit story this morning. Front of the Times, 1 million more on benefits with no need to work means 4 million people without any pressure. Now, whenever we discuss this, and I want to keep saying this all morning, there will be people, understandably, who will ring or text and go, you're having a go at us, we're disabled, we're mentally ill. No. For me, the system is a safety net to care for people who cannot care for themselves. And I, like millions of people in this country, am very happy to pay tax and work to support people who cannot support themselves. But those people, before you get your knickers in a twist, right, we're talking about the people who are gaming the system, who are not mentally ill, who are not disabled, who could give back something, whose actual gaming of the system is taking away from people who genuinely need to claim and other people who are being turned away from claims. I just want to read this from Mark in Portsmouth. Morning, Jez. I was a single dad and a carer for many years until I remarried. My daughter had a terminal illness. Sadly, she passed away at the age of 23. I have Asperger's, ADHD, depression and PTSD from all the times I had to resuscitate my daughter and deal with her passing. I struggle enormously with my mental health, but I still work 60 hours a week driving an HGV to support my disabled wife and my young son through college. Yes, I could sit at home on benefits, Jez, but I chose to work and go to the gym 4 times a week to deal with the issues that I got. Working and going to the gym, I can categorically tell you, helps me enormously. If I can do it, I firmly believe 80% of people on benefits could benefit from doing something. And that's Mark in Portsmouth. It's astonishing. And that answers what many people are saying. I'm being harsh. I'm not being harsh, but I'm not prepared to listen on the 26th of November when taxes get increased again on good, hard-working people to pay for feckless people to lie around. It's not fair. Mike's in Birmingham. Regarding people on benefits, when they get their rent paid, council tax paid, universal credit or PIP payments, social fund loans, free dentists, free prescriptions, and you add it up, they get more than the average worker earns a week. Ask yourself, why would they want to get a job to earn what they currently get for free? The system, Jez, needs to change. Assessments must be done by independent doctors, not by family GPs, and all fraudulent claims should be made to pay back the money they received by deception. There is genuine concern about a country that will allow people to claim who haven't got a right, will allow a migrant in who's currently 40 with a grey beard and is pretending to be a kid of 16. We just need to shape up. And the reason we need to shape up is because the genuinely, correct claimants are suffering. Love your thoughts on that, on Trump, the BBC, and on Calamity Lammy, who's managed to oversee 91 people just walking out of prison in the last 12 months. 0344 499 1000. You with Morning Glory. We're live across the UK. This is where the nation comes to talk, and we continue after the news at 8 with Esther McVey next.
Libya Libya has become a major transit route for refugees and migrants from sub-Saharan Africa, and many of them come through Libya dreaming of getting to the UK, particularly from Sudan, where there has been a civil war waging for the last 2 years. And those asylum seekers or economic migrants who make it from Sudan to the UK have a 99% chance of being given leave to remain. So I spent several hours talking to immigration chiefs here in Benghazi on the east side of Libya. The Libyan National Army has a very good grip on the immigration problem, albeit fighting against a huge crisis with limited resources. There is a very, very clear process of giving people proper health checks, the life-saving care that they need, and then working out where it is exactly that they've come from. Their message to the UK is that you are fueling this problem. You are effectively advertising a great new life for people from sub-Saharan Africa. They actually said, you know, what do you think happens when a guy from Sudan comes up through Libya and makes his way all the way to the UK and gets put in a luxurious hotel and provided with everything? And make no mistake, it is a perilous journey. We see it from the end point. We see the channel crossing as the dangerous bit. But actually where these journeys begin is in the hot desert. Many, many tens of kilometres have to be covered on foot by these migrants. And as many as 1 in 4 do not make it. That means bodies in the desert. The Libyan authorities are having to recover bodies in the desert. About the UK and how much awareness. Please understand the scale of what we are dealing with here with very, very limited resources. Once again, you know, people come in from charities, from NGOs, they use warm words, and the authorities here told me the only thing that we ever get is maybe a few toothbrushes and some nappies for the babies.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Good morning, my friends. Welcome to Morning Glory for Wednesday, the 12th of November. We're live across the UK. This, of course, is the home of free speech and common sense, and where the nation comes to talk. So much going on. You're waking up to the news that 1 million more people are on benefits, which means 4 million people in total are able to claim benefits from the hard-working British taxpayer without any need to go to work. It's a very emotive subject. I've heard some incredible stories this morning. Just want to reiterate again, genuinely mentally ill and disabled people, that is what the system is for. And when we talk about reform and we talk about changing it so that the people are not allowed to screw the rest of us, it's not about the genuine claimants. It's about the people who are gaming the system. I want to ask you this morning, how do we get people back to work? And more than anything, and quite frighteningly, does work pay? Overnight, the Donald has announced that he will indeed be suing the British Biased Corporation for $1 billion. And the lovies have come out in their thousands. This is a great institution. It's not it's unbiased. It's great. No, it's not. It's riven with examples of prejudice and bad management, and should be made, I think, to play on a level playing field. You pay 180 quid or you get fined for watching or not watching something that's definitely leftist. Your thoughts on the BBC would be great. I think most of the people that work there are out of touch, but there we go, and I can say that knowing I'll never work for them. And Calamity Lammy, ladies and gentlemen, highlighting this appalling government, confirming, oh God, 91 prisoners have been released by mistake in the last 12 months. That's 91. Of which 3 are still at large, including an Albanian drug dealer, he thinks. He really is the lowest of the low. And all of this on the day we discover that there are There are mutterings inside number 10 of a coup. Wes Streeting was being slaughtered by Starmer yesterday. He's been on the round this morning saying this isn't true at all, which means it absolutely is. Somebody who talks common sense, has been at the epicentre of government and would be great on the traitors. Esther McVeigh, MP, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm all right, love. Every morning I come here and I think, oh, it's going to be boring. And yet this Labour government, if I'm absolutely honest, just keeps giving me daily the chance to just talk non-stop. I mean, I'm going to have to start with the serious story and then we'll launch into the madness. And you would know, you were an employment minister. We worked together several years ago when you were specialising on disabled people as well. 1 million more on benefits, Esther, with no need to seek work, meaning that we now have 4 million people claiming benefits. And you might have heard in my introduction, it's an emotive subject because genuine claimants will say, I am disabled, I am mentally ill. I'm really worried that any new government or any government that talks about lowering this welfare benefits budget is going to attack me. My argument is, no, it's not about the genuine people. It's the people who are gaming it. It's the foreign people, illegals coming into this country. But I've always been happy to be part of something that helps people who can't help themselves. But we've got to a point where it's a drain, and in the budget, the tax will go up for everyday people to pay for something that isn't working. Isn't that fair?
I mean, the situation's far worse than you say. It's 4 million people on the main out-of-work benefits that don't need to look for work. It's double the number who are on the main out-of-work benefits. This is just a number of people who are saying they're so disabled in one way or another, or there's other things happening that they cannot look for work. So you're right, the numbers are unacceptable, and you have to start off with the others who can start going into work. What is wrong with them going to work? And what you need to understand, there needs to be a 360-degree sort of package put together. So some people might need support, some people might need extra training, some people might need extra qualifications. But at the same time, there is something that I call conditionality for getting a benefit. So if you're getting that benefit, what are you doing for it? So I'd say you're in a job to get a job. So every day you must be looking for work. You must be sending off your CV. So that's the conditionality. And then with that, there is oversight. This is what people in the job centre do. Are you looking for work? Can we help you? Can we point you in the right direction? And then ultimately, there is sanctions if you are not doing anything. And the whole system has to fit together like that. You can't just have money going out and no conditionality. And then you have to see how ill are you? How much, what are the things that are stopping you from going to work? And is it right now? Is that going to be forever? Or is it for a period of time that you might need extra support because a lot has gone wrong in your life? We get that. But ultimately, if you can work, you should work because it is good for you. It's good for your self-esteem. You're going to get money and you're going to have friendships. There's a whole lot of things that are good for you in work. So I think, and that's why it's a complicated system. There's a hell of a lot of people working there, 100,000 people. Some of them are brilliant. My team was brilliant, and all the people in the job centres. And they, one by one, have a tailored approach. What do you need? But the Labour government, I'm afraid, has collapsed all that. And I'm afraid it's just handing out, I would say, working people's money without doing those checks.
There doesn't seem to be any diligence, and of course you're so right. It becomes, and you saw it, you were a Minister of State for Employment, and I'm sure there were issues and arguments and conversations that you had to have with people who would look at you as if you were trying to destroy a whole series of people's lives. I said it early doors, and I guess you're the same. I'm really happy to go to work to pay tax for a system that I, growing up, was told was to help people who can't help themselves, Esther, and I'm really happy to do that. What I'm not happy to do is see, as you said, working people's taxes increased again in the next 2 weeks to pay. I mean, yesterday we had Rachel Thieves saying that she wants to cut that child cap benefit of 2 kids. £27 for the first kid, 17 for the second. Listen, everybody knows what I used to do. Everybody knows what the job that you used to have. But here's the truth. If you're saying, I mean, I heard her say, we're going to allow children to be born into poverty. There has to be some responsibility from parents, right? If you're going to have more than 2 kids, you need to be able to bloody well afford them. If you are genuinely mentally ill or disabled, yes, we will pay for you. But if you are making a choice not to work, was never a career choice for us, but it's not a safety net anymore. It's a choice, and that is fundamentally wrong and goes against all the other people who are working hard. Surely that is common sense.
So this is a major mistake by Rachel Reeves to remove the 2 child benefit cap. Can I just explain? Child benefit goes to every child, irrespective of the number. So that 20 quid, 17 quid you were talking about, that goes to every child. What this is changing is the basically tax credits, which Gordon Brown brought in 2003. You didn't have them before, and he brought in these child tax credits, and that comes into universal credit. So we're saying we're not going to give you that extra benefit after 2 children. And I will also say there is lots of exemptions to that. Should a child be disabled, you'd still get it for the 3rd child. Should you have had twins or triplets, you'll get that. Should there be a whole host of other reasons, you still get that. But what we're saying is, no, like anybody else who works out the finances of their life, the average number of children, or is about 1.54 or something now per household, but most people have 2 children. So why should somebody on benefits be getting more support than people who are going out to work? And I'll tell you another thing as well. The more help you get with your children there, the further you're going to also get away from the workplace. So you will be getting more and more help. And it's not just on the benefits, it will be on housing benefit support, it will be on prescription support, you name it, on all kinds of support. And then I'd say the odds of you ever getting a job that could pay for you is going to be highly unlikely. So there were lots of reasons about fairness and about you, and we all say that the best thing you could do for your children really is to have a role model in the house who's going out to work, who is striving and who is successful. So there's a whole host of reasons why what Rachel Reeves is doing is a disaster. Plus, she doesn't have the money. She has bust the country. We're now borrowing 190 billion a year. So let's have a bright idea, Rachel Reeves. Let's tax people who are in work, which is fewer and fewer, and let's borrow more. Absolutely. She's gone bonkers. It is mad. It is the road to lunacy.
Mate, I couldn't agree more. You put it so well. Right, listen, I've been waiting all week to have your take on this. The BBC. I think, listen, overnight, the Donald has reiterated to Fox News that he is indeed going to sue the BBC for $1 billion. Have a watch, everybody. Here we go.
Are you going ahead and suing the BBC?
Well, I guess I have to. Why not? Because they defrauded the public, and they've admitted it. And their top echelon,
Director General and the CEO,
this
both
is
resigned.
Within one of our great allies. This is supposedly our great ally, BBC. The government has a chunk of that one, I guess, but that's a pretty sad event. They actually changed my January 6th speech, which was a beautiful speech, which was a very calming speech, and they made it sound radical. And they actually changed it. What they did was rather incredible. They're showing me the results later on, the results of what they did, how they butchered it up. But it was very dishonest, and the head man quit, and a lot of the other people.
It was a very beautiful speech. It was a very calming speech. I just want to say this, Est. I get that, and whether he does that or not is fine. What I think is extraordinarily hypocritical, led by Lisa Nandy today, saying they are the light on the hill. Deborah Turner, all the Nick Robinsons jumping out. You're a broadcaster going, we're unbiased, we're this, we're that. We're under siege here from the far right. The fact is, we can sit here and talk, you and I, we were both in telly, about Savile, Harris, Hugh Edwards still being paid 200 grand a year as his pension. We can talk about Martin Croxall, a great journalist, daring to say pregnant woman instead of pregnant people. We can talk about an institution that paid a Hamas official's son to voice a documentary, or a Director General that allowed 5 hours of streaming of that vile Bob Villan saying deaf to the IDF. The BBC, in my humble opinion, is so far up its own backside, it's never ever had to be answerable to anybody. Yes, the charter's happening in 2 years, but surely it is time to put them on a level playing field with news organisations and television opportunities across this country, because if you're any good, people will subscribe. I think they get, 5.39 billion quid? It's time to change, isn't it?
The worst thing was that the BBC went into denial And then they talked about they were the beacon. It was a far-right conspiracy, blaming the far-right. You couldn't believe that. They made serious mistakes.
Yeah.
It has been systematically biased, and they had this report 6 months ago, and they weren't going to do anything. You know why? Because they think they're above the law. They are superior. They hold the sort of the moral righteousness of the country. So I think when Donald Trump heard that they were doubling down, they weren't apologising. It was like, come out and fight for the BBC. Who could make it up? He said, well, if that's the way you're going to play it, because we all know how Donald Trump works, I'm doubling down too. Now, I don't think for a moment he wants £1 billion. I think he wants them to acknowledge the mistakes. He wants an apology, and we as a country should be calling for root and branch change of the BBC. It's not good enough just 2 people have gone, because it is absolutely, it's entrenched in the organisation. And I can quite happily say, I know they are biased. If you ever see the audiences somebody's been on, whether it's Question Times, whether it's somebody's been on any questions, it is biased. I've seen them roll their eyes to me when I've talked about I didn't believe in the net zero targets. They roll their eyes. They could not hide the contempt of my views. And equally, when I didn't agree with lockdown, it was like I was some sort of criminal, not somebody who had a valid point of view, because they don't want to hear it. And that is their problem. If they had have listened, they had have been open-minded, you know what? You know, it would be in a better place. But the reason people are switching off the BBC in their droves and turning to whether it's Talk, you know, or other channels, is because they only want to hear their point of view.
Absolutely.
They're closing down any other point of view. So the Trump actually, hopefully, is going to make them shake up their attitude, and it shouldn't be a license fee anymore. It should be subscription. I think that's right. And if it's doing such a wonderful job, if it's such great value for money, people will subscribe.
And not only do I absolutely concur with all of that, we're talking about what is supposed to be our state broadcaster. Let's get this absolutely straight. A state broadcaster, you know what you're getting from Talk, you know what you're getting from The Guardian, you know what you're getting from The Mail and The Sun and The Telegraph and other news stations, but the BBC is supposed to be completely impartial. There is absolutely no doubt, right, no doubt that their coverage of so much is not unbiased. And that, as you said, institutionally, interesting times. This will make Estimate Bay smile more than anything. This morning, Keir Starmer, in panic mode, bunkered down in number 10, apparently machine gun firing his own cabinet ministers now, fearing some sort of feral overthrow, which is extraordinary in itself after 18 months. We've just got a clip from Wes Streeting, the ex-darling of the Labour Party, I would say, responding on Sky News because he wouldn't come on Talk. Wes, I'm disappointed, man, we're friends. To plot, he's responding to this plot to remove Starmer, the claims. This is Wes Streeting earlier. Have a watch.
I think whoever's been briefing this has been watching too much Celebrity Traitors, and this is just about the worst attack on a faithful I've seen since Joe Marler was kicked out and banished in the final. It's totally self-defeating briefing, not least because it's not true. And I don't understand how anyone thinks it's helpful to the Prime Minister either to suggest he's fighting for his job.
Esther, you were a minister, you were in the cabinet. I look at that and go, you're just deflecting that, mate. It's patently going on right underneath your nose. Am I right or wrong?
Oh, absolutely. And everybody knows he's been touting for the leadership for a long period of time. This isn't something new. This is what he's been doing. And if you look at his register of members' interests, you'll see he's got a couple of £100,000 in there, which has come forward. Well, there's no general election. There's no other reason he'd need the money. That is for a leadership bid when it's the right time. Now, he might not be going for it at the budget, but he'll be definitely going for it after the local elections. The thing which I don't understand is why Keir Starmer would actually preempt this story. Why would you say I am that weak? There is this many people in my own cabinet wanting me out. So either, and I do think they are strategically stupid, because this is a strategically stupid move, because he has absolutely set off the starting gun now for a leadership bid, and he's done it to himself. And like I said, it's been going on for some time. Or his position is so bad, and I know it is, and I can tell you, on the right of the Labour Party, you've got Shabina Mahmood is going, as is Wes Streeting, and on the left of the party, you have got Angela Rayner going, and believe it or not, Ed Miliband. So he is under pressure.
Ed Miliband's going to stand.
Trust me, he is fancying his chances because they all think Starmer's doing such a bad job. It all means they think they can do the job. And that there is the problem. And it stems really from, and I know there is huge upset with Rachel Reeves' budget. I speak to Labour, I speak to everybody in here, and I know they're all upset. And I'll tell you for why it makes sense. They all know she's going to do a terrible budget. They all know she's going to have to increase tax. But they all are saying, but what are we going to get from that? Because now she's going to increase her headroom to about, they think, 20 billion. She's going to raise about 30 billion, but they're all saying, but none of that money is going to come to our causes. It's all going to go sort of, because she's taken hostage by the Treasury and the sort of financial markets. What are we getting? So it doesn't matter which group, which side in the Labour Party you're in, whether you're Starmerites, Blairites, Corbynista, they're all saying we are not getting the money for our cause. Hence now she's touting, oh, I might help WASPy women. Oh, here you go, £3 billion for getting rid of the two-child cap. They are in meltdown, but that story, the front of the Times, A, I know it's true, but B, I wouldn't understand why Starmer would release that. He's not, as it were, spiking the guns of a leadership bid. He's actually now got the hairs running.
Here's a question for you before I let you go. If it happens, and I've had texts this morning going, I loathe Keir Starmer, I think he's the most incompetent Prime Minister, but when you look at that front bench, is it fair to say we're better limping along with him until the markets force him out, whatever? Who do you think, I know what I think, if he had to go, if there was a coup, who do you think will be the next leader of the Labour Party / Prime Minister of this country?
OK, well, it'll have to be somebody from the left because it goes to the trade unions and it goes to the membership. So anybody who's on the right of the party, if they think Keir Starmer's right wing, they're not going to win. So first of all, Keir Starmer could win. Do you remember Jeremy Corbyn? They forced the vote. He lost it in the House, but actually he won it with the members. Now, the reason I think Keir Starmer won't is because the membership's more left-wing than him. So he could well lose that vote that Jeremy Corbyn won. And that's why I think it will end up either with an Angela Rayner, who will be the voice of the trade unions, which will be a disaster. She will be their useful idiot, as it were, for the force that is behind her. Or it could be Ed Miliband, because you've got a lot, again, from the left. You've got the net zero zealots, and they will both, in different ways, destroy the country. Maybe that's why Starmer released the story to say to people, I'm the best of what is here. Don't get rid of me because the others are going to be a disaster.
God, I thought broadcasting was a viper's nest. This MP lark. God, my God, mate, you've been in both viper's nests. So good to have you on. Thank you so much. The amazing Esther McVey, former Minister for Common Sense, giving us the lowdown there from the Commons. Starmer has fired the starting gun to a leadership challenge, she says, and it's quite interesting because a lot has been written about West Streeting and Shabana Mahmood talking the language that the country wants. She's saying that will never get through with the trade unions and the members. If Starmer goes, the alternatives are Angela Rayner, who will have to leave her newly set up property company. Wrong move. Or it could be Ed Miliband, the man who wants to spend 800 billion achieving apparently net zero. Nobody knows why or what happens if you get there. He's been there twice, I think, to Brazil in the last 2 weeks, costing about £24,000. Unbelievable. Welcome to Morning Glory. The world's going slightly barking mad. Jez, read the BBC. I hope some tech-savvy individuals are searching through BBC footage from previous Trump election campaigns, as I would bet every single penny I have that the current discovery of BBC US election interference is just the tip of the iceberg. Mark from Brigg in Lincolnshire. How hard can the prison problem be to fix? They do the full sentence, then there's one date of release and put a padlock on the front door. You see, he could be the Justice Secretary. Sasha, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. Sasha in Cheshire here. I am just responding to your topic about claims. I have ADHD and I've suffered with my mental health for a long time. At parts it's been scary, but I completely agree with your previous listener. Getting out and doing things makes such a huge difference. I have tried to claim for additional support in the past, and the Department for work and pensions made up a load of reasons that weren't even related to my application as to why they weren't going to provide me with any additional support. But I also work 3 different jobs. I have my own business, I teach and I tutor, and all 3 legitimately through HMRC and everything else. And I get out and about, and if it wasn't for my other half supporting me to do that, I would have really struggled with my mental health. So I completely agree. Getting out and having something to do makes a massive, massive...
In terms of your question around taxes, there are no additional tax rises needed beyond the ones that I've set out.
Don't need to increase taxes. I'm not coming back with more borrowing or more taxes.
I will not increase your national insurance. I will not increase your VAT, and I will not increase your income tax.
We don't need to come back for more. We've done that now. We've wiped the slate clean.
The economic circumstances have declined, deteriorated since a year ago. We are having to look at taxes and spending.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
A very good morning to you. Welcome to Morning Glory, live across the United Kingdom on the home of free speech and common sense. This is Talk, the place where people come to talk. It's an easy thing to work out. 0344 499 1000. If you're just tuning in or waking up, you're waking up to the news that 1 million more people are now claiming benefits without the need to work, meaning that 4 million people in this country are getting money whilst your taxes are about to be increases because you're going to work, you stupid people, because they don't have to and they're not forced to, and that needs to change. My question this morning is, how do we get people back to work? And a dreadful question, does work pay? You're still talking in your droves about the BBC. Donald Trump overnight confirming he will be suing the BBC for £1 billion. All the lovies are up in arms. Oh, we're a wonderful institution. No, you are not. And Calamity Lammy wins Idiot of the Decade. He's announced, this is our Justice Secretary and Deputy Prime Minister, that 91 prisoners have been mistakenly released. since this Labour Party became the government, 3 of which are still on the run, they think. One might be an Albanian drug dealer, they're not sure. And they're not sure if either they're on the run or how they got there. That is what we're dealing with. It's 8:30. Please keep your texts and your calls coming. Jess Tenderden, I thank you for your message. She says, Jess, I literally wake up petrified every day. I'm on hold waiting for Thieves' decision. She left it to the last minute of the budget. No idea that Christmas, let alone anything else, is in limbo. I'm a single parent. I've had a tough time. Yes, I work, but I do get a small UC top-up. But when my eldest is 18 next year, I only have 2, I'm going to lose so much. Seriously frightened. Too much background for a text, but wanted to tell you that I, like many others, are terrified the direction in which this country's going. Jess, listen, bless you. That's the reality, right? We do this breakfast show and people send stuff, but there's genuinely millions of people in this country who are scared, deflated, let down by successive governments, predominantly this one, but also the Tories, that just don't know which way to turn. I think it really needs talking about. We're going to say good morning now to the amazing Ross Clark, columnist in The Sun. Great piece this morning on page 10. Ross, how are you?
Good morning, Jeremy. Fine.
Whenever I see you on that machine, I always think you're sat atop a ladder because your head looks like it's literally on the ceiling. You look very high up, sir, but thank you for joining us this morning. Very kind of you. Shabana Mahmood's an interesting one, isn't she, Ross, the Home Secretary? She's I don't know, over the last couple of weeks, she seems to be speaking, not reform-esque, but she's certainly more... there's more vitriol. There's a different stance and a different language from her than there has been from other Home Secretaries. And recently, which is what the article's about today, she's been looking towards how left-leaning Denmark, who have been quite firm on immigration, have been dealing with it and sort of intimating that that might be down a road that she might go. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, she's been out to Denmark apparently to study what the Danes have been doing. Now, Denmark has remarkably reduced its asylum seekers. At the time, you know, they've been exploding in Britain and other European countries. Now, 2015, Denmark had 21,000 asylum applications. It seemed to be totally out of control. Last year, the first 8 months of this year, it's down to 2,500 asylum applications. How have they done that? Well, they take a fundamentally different attitude to asylum in Denmark. If you are granted asylum there, and it's a lot tougher there than it is here, you're not given the indefinite right to remain in Denmark. You're allowed to stay until your homeland is judged to be reasonably safe again, that you can be returned home. And as a result, we've had refugees from Syria already returned to parts of Syria where around Damascus, where it's judged to be safe. You know, here by contrast, we sort of, you know, wave them in and you know, just leave them alone then. Say that, you know, you can stay indefinitely. It's also very much more difficult to bring family to Denmark if you are granted asylum. If you want to bring your spouse, for example, you both have to be over 24, and you have to have been in Denmark not claiming benefits. You have to be supporting yourself, otherwise you can't bring wife and family or husband and family. So, you know, it's a very much tougher regime. And, you know, but the remarkable thing is, it's not some mad far-right regime. It cannot be portrayed that way. Denmark is ruled by a left-leaning coalition, the Social Democrats, who are the equivalent of Labour in Britain. So they cannot be written off as some sort of far-right maniacs, as in this country.
It's really interesting for me. You used a word there, Ross, and it is a great article, by the way, by Ross on page 10 today. Reported that Denmark has no ghettos, no benefits for failed asylum seekers. And this is my favourite bit, right? Migrants who arrive with valuable possessions are expected absolutely to help pay for their stay. Under a law passed in 2016, police can confiscate jewellery, watches and other high-value items to offset the cost of housing and food. Now, you used a word, you know, it's tough. I suspect, Ross, you'd know better than me, that when we look at a country that has apparently been tough and it's worked, it's brought down, what, 90% in applications in 12 months, that toughness is the very thing that this country doesn't have, because we spend so much time hamstrung by trying to be all things to all people and be fair. And the reason that I think that immigration, I'd love your take on this, is such a central issue now, is I think this has been going on a long time, but I think the nature of where we're at, in debt, unable to pay the interest on the money that we owe the IMF or the rest of the world, our creaking public services, just this woke madness. I think the British people have gone, frankly, had enough. I pay in and I get treated like an idiot. I want my government to make decisions that might appear unpopular to certain lefties, but actually will benefit me, a member of the indigenous population. I don't think that's tough. I think it's realistic, pal.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what's happening in Britain compared with Denmark, it looks as if Britain is under control of a human rights junta. There's been a coup of human rights lawyers who are now effectively totally in charge of our immigration system, and whatever noises it makes to say we're going to reduce the boats, stop the boats or whatever, the human rights lawyers junta will stop it doing it. And I mean that's sort of the problem we have, is that sort of any government policy at the moment is being totally undermined. Now, Denmark has a similar problem in that it does complain it's difficult for it to return criminals and terrorists who have managed to enter Denmark. They're using the same sort of arguments in Danish courts as they do here. But Denmark has joined several other countries in Europe and is really now trying to reform the European Court of Human Rights. And, I think our own government really ought to be taking a lead in this. And instead, it's sort of, I appreciate Keir Starmer's never going to withdraw from the European Court of Human Rights. He's a human rights lawyer by background. He's not going to do that, but he could at least join these other countries in pressing for very serious reform.
Somebody said
hands back policy to governments rather than.
I couldn't agree more. And just to finish, somebody said earlier, and I don't want to say it was, I can't remember who it was, it's my age, but somebody said earlier that I think it was Robert Jenrick, the very people who set up the ECHR, the Winston Churchill, 70 years ago, could not have envisaged in a million years what was going to happen. It is not fit for purpose. It is used by people to again find a loophole in the rules to get into this country. It is an absolute joke. If I was anything near anybody who was going to get into power, the lawyers need censoring and those rules need changing, because the world has moved on and we haven't. I have to tell you, it's a great article. I've been thinking about this Denmark initiative today. Ross Clark, page 10 of The Sun, how left-leaning Denmark's blitz on migrants may work for us too. Thank you, Ross, so much indeed. 23 minutes to 9 o'clock. We're live across the UK with Morning Glory. So many of you trying to get involved. Kevin's in Macclesfield. Morning, Jez. They keep banging on about the numbers of people unemployed. What a joke. How many of them are down to this government? How many businesses have shut down since Labour has been in power? How many jobs have been lost because of this incompetent lot? It's a good job they don't need to look for work, because there is no work. Employers will not employ people because of all the stupid taxes Rachel Thieves has brought in. And the new employment laws, brain-dead rain, are introduced. Even the media can't see that it's because of brain-dead social government. So Kevin in Macclefield's not very happy this morning. You can't get a job. The government's a complete disgrace. I don't say I disagree. I'm not reading that from oh, yes, I'd like to point out what Mark, Button Pusher Supreme, said. He said under Labour plans, he's fully expecting an adults breakfast club to be integrated in to Morning Glory very soon, which would be nice. To the ad break. Elle, good morning.
JK, my sister's one of those people who hasn't managed to get what she needs. Her husband of 34 years died a year ago, and she said she was depressed, quite rightly. That wasn't enough, apparently, even though her husband died. She's waiting for 2 operations. She's got spinal stenosis in her neck. And she spends all her time having to be on the phone to Universal Credit saying, yes, I'm still in the same situation. No, I haven't had the operation. She has to have 2 weekly phone calls and they're still pestering her. She's only just gone up from the £74.35. I think they give them an extra £200 or £300 a month, which in her condition, and she lives on her own. So she can't manage on her own.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Welcome back, my friends. There are moments in your broadcasting career when you think, oh, this is fantastic. My next guest has flown all the way from America to be with me this morning. Honestly, she puts a spring in my step and my hat is at a jaunty angle. The host of the aptly named Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered. Kinsey Schofield is here, hello.
I'm so excited to be here.
How are you?
I'm great.
What's with the cuffs? What's going on?
It's Christmas time, and it's
If you
Christmas
just tuned
time
in,
all
that
over
didn't
London.
sound right. What's with the cuffs? Let's just get this right. Can you lift your hands up? You've got Christmas sort of stuff around them.
A little Christmas outfit, yeah, and I'm excited. I'm going to take one of the bus tours to look at the Christmas lights around town.
The bus will probably break down because it will drive through a pothole. The lights probably won't be on because the electricity prices have gone through the roof and the council have probably gone bust. And even if it does, it'll probably explode and a health and safety officer will say that the tour's banned. Welcome to Great Britain.
That is not the Christmas spirit, okay?
I love when you come from the States because you sort of fly in and out and we're all sort of dragged down by what's going on in this country. But can I just ask you, before we get on to show busy stuff, the Donald overnight confirming that he is indeed going to sue the BBC for £1 billion. I don't expect you to get political, but he's done this before and won, hasn't he, in the States?
Yes, he did this with CBS and ABC. With CBS, I thought was an interesting one, and CBS has completely changed its structure based on this lawsuit. You know, with 60 Minutes, which is an iconic news program, you know, a lot of their staff threatening to walk off because of the way that they edited Kamala around the election to make her look more functional, I guess is the nicest way of putting it.
Did it? Didn't work.
And then with ABC, George Stephanopoulos said he was guilty of something that he wasn't found guilty of, and I mean that one was to me very clear. But I think that the BBC, it lands in the very clear category. They edited him to say something that was not the meaning of what he said, and I think he has a strong case there.
Really interesting. We cannot go through a week without your dulcet tones. Where do you want to start?
Well, I bet I've had this conversation with you. I've been saying for years, because I worked with the Kardashians.
You did?
I've been saying for years that Meghan Markle would be pursuing a collaboration with the Kardashians.
Yes.
And as Remembrance Day was approaching, and we saw all of the incredible grace and strength and patriotism from the British royal family, there are Harry and Meghan keeping up with the Kardashians, chasing after Kris Jenner at her 70th birthday party.
I saw it and I thought, do you know what? It absolutely verifies in my mind that almost everything that Ginger Whinger and his hideous wife do is literally either so badly thought out or it is to compete. Because at the very time you had pictures of Kate demure and William at the cenotaph, remembering our fallen heroes from the wars, right? You had them leading into Jenner's 70th birthday party. Harry looking at somebody who put a stink bomb under his nose. You won't know what that is. We used to throw them at school. And her with that fake happy smile. I just thought you couldn't have two different sides of what's important and what isn't, could you?
Well, to your point about them always trying to distract from the good work that the British royal family does and the relevant work, Meghan announces her Christmas special is coming out around the same time we expect to see Princess Catherine actually execute the Carol concert. So December 3rd is when Meghan's Christmas special is coming out.
What's the Christmas special? What?
Yeah, I mean, what do you do when you have no family members that you still talk to? How do you execute a Christmas special? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, what's so interesting to me is that the Kardashians have since removed all the pictures that they had posted of Harry and Meghan from the event.
They just don't get any luck, do they? Even the Kardashians, and then, you know, let's be honest, they're not the higher echelons of society, financially they want nothing to do with them now either.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that Meghan is trying to network. I think she's desperate for relevance, and Prince Harry looks like a moron sitting at a Dodgers stadium wearing a Dodgers cap in the dugout when he is heading to Canada a week later. Do you not think you're going to have to face consequences from, you know, your king, your father is the king of Canada. It's disrespectful to sit there wearing an LA Dodgers cap.
I didn't get into trouble. You were with me. I think we made it onto the Kimmel show. I did say some time ago that within 5 years the Ginger Whinger will be back. Do you remember me saying this? We're back in the United Kingdom with his tail between his legs, and she will be stuck in California with two royally related children. She'll be in films. She's about to make a shock return to acting. I know she couldn't act anyway, but it must have dawned on him, and I'm never allowed to use the phrase, but he obviously wasn't thinking with his brain. She is just the most publicity-seeking, fame-hungry, narcissistic, airheaded waste of space I can honestly think I've ever thought about or spoken about. Why doesn't she just go away somewhere?
I would love to see a love letter written by you.
Dear Kinsey, I love you, love Jen. Do you know what I mean, though? I mean, stop the look on the face, and he's like, this is embarrassing, and she's like, oh, I'm with the Kardashians.
They told us that they were that the royal family were holding them back, that they had so much potential, and the royal family, they were jealous of their popularity, and they held them back from accomplishing what they could, and that they were going to leave the British royal family and show us a life of service. And now we have Meghan chasing after a woman that's famous for an inappropriate tape that was leaked.
A sex tape.
Yes, and
inappropriate.
That is why this woman has any relevance today whatsoever. And when we found out about Meghan's cameo in a movie, I said, well, similar to Kim Kardashian's path. Kim played herself in TV shows and movies. Actually, Tyler Perry, Lily's godfather, gave Kim one of her first scripted jobs. And you know what? Fergie. On that episode of Friends, where they're in London. In fact, Fergie might be in 2 episodes of Friends in London.
Well, she'd like to be now.
Yeah, for sure. But this is not, you know, a unique path that Meghan is taking. She continues to follow in Kim Kardashian and Fergie's footsteps. And I'm sorry, but if you want to use the Duchess title, I have higher expectations for you.
Do you believe, like me, that his brain, his time is he's starting to realise, Harry, that he's made a catastrophic mistake or not?
Yes, and I think that he is crawling back to the UK. Go watch the coverage of him in Canada where he's at Sunnydale with the veterans, talking about how his aunt had been there, his grandmother, his great-grandmother. He is desperate to still look royal. He's desperate to show that he can still contribute, because I do think he wants half in, half out, and Meghan is just chasing fame.
I think he's in trouble, though. I think he also genuinely, his face to me belies the fact that he knows exactly what his brother's going to do to him and his wife when he becomes king.
Well, why can you apologise to Canada for wearing an LA Dodgers cap, but you can't apologise to the British royal family for accusing them of racism?
Absolutely. Listen, you know, you and I would agree on this. A lot of people will text and say, you're very harsh on Meghan. No, she trashed something that for you and I is so important for many people. And what she does, I'm afraid, a bit like Andrew, is increase the cause of the Republicans that say that the royal family is not what it was and things should change. We know that the king is ill. We know that he fights to modernise the monarchy. I happen to believe, and I know you agree with this, that William and Kate will save the British monarchy, and you know, one can hope that that happens when it happens, and they do a good job. But I think Harry is stuck between the devil and the deep blue. I'm so with you. I think he's suddenly worked out that he's the future king's brother, and he's now being dragged along in an ill-fitting suit to Kris Jenner's 70th birthday party. Not really how it goes, is it?
It's not. It is incredibly disappointing to see, but I met the king. I'll have to tell you about that off
When
air.
did you meet the king?
Not last week, but the week before that.
Did you?
Yes.
Lovely. How are you, Kinsey? I've watched Unfiltered. How was it?
He hadn't watched Unfiltered, but we had a moment. We had a moment.
Did he kiss you on the hand?
He didn't kiss me, but he shook my hand and he held my hand. I thought that was so sweet, and I said, "You are so handsome." And he threw his head back laughing.
Did he?
Yes.
You're such a flirt. You'll be in the Tower of London before you can possibly meet. So how did you meet? Come on.
I can't go into those details.
Oh, is this for the programme?
No, this is, I can't talk about it because it was a private event, but I had to tell you. I hadn't told you. It's been weeks since we've seen each other talk. I don't know.
Who did you go with?
I can't. These are details I'm not supposed to share.
She's flown in first class on a private jet to make a television programme. She's changed. Honestly, I found her 5 years ago in a cubbyhole in LA doing stuff about the royal family. Now she's mixing it with the king. You've changed. You've left me here.
You know what I'll say? Thank you, Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle, thank you so much. You are
But you're brilliant at what you do, and we love the fact that you're part of Talk. So you're over here making a show, and how long are you here for?
Until Saturday.
I'll see you tomorrow then.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah? You coming on tomorrow?
Sure.
Absolutely fine. Let's book it for tomorrow because it's nice. It makes me happy. Please come tomorrow, okay. But take those things off your wrists. We're here on Morning Glory. If you're tuning in, it's fluffy bits for Christmas, not handcuffs. Morning, Laura.
Morning, Jeremy. Laura in Wiltshire. Re the whole jobs and benefits system. My husband and I both work for ourselves. My husband has been completely blind for about the past 15 years and was partially sighted before that, but he has always worked, and that is through sheer determination. And he's one of the most positive, incredible people anyone meets. He does get a little bit of help from the government in order for him to become a top-rate taxpayer, and they help guide him round London, meetings, wherever it is he needs to go. But those guides who work for Access to Work say you cannot believe the number of scammers they have to take to doctor's appointments. They are all just taking the mickey, and it makes me so angry. So I think we have got to tackle this because it is just unfair on people who are determined to work and try and pay their taxes. Great show.
In terms of your question around taxes, there are no additional tax rises needed beyond the ones that I've set out.
Don't need to increase taxes. I'm not coming back with more borrowing or more taxes. I will not increase your national insurance. I will not increase your VAT, and I will not increase your income tax. We don't need to come back for more. We've done that now. We've wiped the slate clean.
The economic circumstances have declined, deteriorated since a year ago. We are having to look at taxes and spending.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. Almost 9 o'clock. Sport on the way. So many of you responding to the old benefits story this morning. 4 million people now on benefits without any need to go to work. Yesterday, the government announced they were thinking about cutting that two-child cap benefit. I love this from Sue. So we pay for kids' breakfast, I pay for school dinners, I pay for free nursery places galore. Now the two-kid cap's going to be removed. What next? Am I supposed to pay for afternoon tea in pyjamas? I'm sick and tired, she says, of paying for other people's bleeding children. If you want kids, pay for them yourself. Oh, it's her opinion. She's entitled to it. Push the button, my friend.
90 minutes in 90 seconds. From The Sun.
Just a quick dip in this morning. Good morning, Tom Barkley, football writer for The Sun. How are you, Tom?
No, I'm good, Jeremy. How are you doing?
Yeah, not bad. I know it's not on your list. Great on the back page, Kick Van Dijk. Very good headline. Wayne Rooney proving that there are actually pundits out there who are prepared to criticise Premier League footballers and stand up to it. He stood up to Virgil van Dijk the other day and has reiterated his criticism. Good on him, I say.
Yeah, fair enough, really. I guess that's what we want from our pundits, don't we? We don't want them to sort of hold back just because they used to play with certain players or play against them. And fair play to Wayne Rooney. He's doubled down effectively on his criticism of Virgil van Dijk, even though he had that slightly awkward exchange the other day. And we don't want sanitised commentary or punditry, and fair play to him.
Reece James, shocking. He gets the award for most obvious thing this morning. He's warned his England teammates how difficult the hot conditions will be out in America, having experienced them with Chelsea at the Club World Cup this summer. It's going to be hot. That's not a shocking piece of news, is it, Tom?
It's not a shocking piece of news, but I think, to be fair, his opinion on the matter is valid because he is one of the few England players in the current squad, at least, who has experienced what it's going to be like. And I think it's worth reiterating. At times, it got to 40 degrees out at the Club World Cup last summer. He talked about how as soon as he got out of the hotel, he could feel that heat. If you've ever been on holiday to a country like that, where you just open the door out of the air conditioning and it hits you. Imagine playing football, not just football, kick around with your mates in the park, playing at the highest level, what it's going to be like, particularly for the England players.
You're going to leave this call because we haven't got a lot. You're going to think, oh, Jez, you're a cynic. I'm not. I love my football. You're on 300 grand a week and it's a bit hot. Stop bitching and stop making excuses, not you, them, before it starts for why we're not going to win it. I know you think I'm cynical. Put up with the heat, take your wages and win the World Cup for us, please. Do you know what I mean, Tom?
Well, I'm normally with you when it comes to wages and whinging players, but I think something like this is a little bit different compared to, playing too much or whatever it might be.
Do you think we win it, by the way, pal? Haven't got a lot of time. Do you think we win it at all?
England, I think it's going to be tough, but Tuchel's is starting to perform pretty well. The last few games have been very encouraging, albeit we always say that in qualifying, don't we?
Great to have you on. Tom Barkley from The Sun. Will we win it? If we do, it might be very, very sweaty. It's almost 9. This is Morning Glory. The news is next.
Libya has become a major transit route for refugees and migrants from sub-Saharan Africa. And many of them come through Libya dreaming of getting to the UK, particularly from Sudan. where there has been a civil war waging for the last 2 years. And those asylum seekers or economic migrants who make it from Sudan to the UK have a 99% chance of being given leave to remain. So I spent several hours talking to immigration chiefs here in Benghazi on the east side of Libya. The Libyan National Army has a very good grip on the immigration problem, albeit fighting against a huge crisis with limited resources. There is a very, very clear process of giving people proper health checks, the life-saving care that they need, and then working out where it is exactly that they've come from. Their message to the UK is that you are fueling this problem. You are effectively advertising a great new life for people from sub-Saharan Africa. They actually said, you know, what do you think happens when a guy from Sudan comes up through Libya and makes his way all the way to the UK and gets put in a luxurious hotel and provided with everything? And make no mistake, it is a perilous journey. We see it from the end point. We see the channel crossing as the dangerous bit. But actually where these journeys begin is in the hot desert. Many, many tens of kilometres have to be covered on foot by these migrants. And as many as 1 in 4 do not make it. That means bodies in the desert. The Libyan authorities are having to recover bodies in the desert. About the UK and how much awareness. Please understand the scale of what we are dealing with here with very, very limited resources. Once again, you know, people come in from charities, from NGOs, they use warm words, and the authorities here told me the only thing that we ever get is maybe a few toothbrushes and some nappies for the babies.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Welcome back, my friends. Just gone 9. Julia Hartley-Brewer, the Empress, the Queen of Westminster, here from 10 o'clock. And the brilliant Ian Collins here from 1 o'clock this afternoon on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. You're waking up to headlines basically surrounding unemployment benefit. 1 million more people claiming benefits without the need to work. We live in a country now that has 4 million people who are getting money and they don't even need to go and try and get a job. So we asked this morning, does work not pay anymore? You're also finding out today that Donald Trump will sue the BBC for $1 billion. He said it was a beautiful speech. They ruined my beautiful speech. It was a very calming speech. What do you make of that? And Calamity Lammy, the Justice Secretary and Deputy Prime Minister, quietly announcing overnight that 91 prisoners have been released by mistake in the past year. He thinks, and this is a really important point, he thinks 3 might still be on the run. He's not altogether sure whether they're... Well, he knows they're not sex offenders, but he don't know what they did wrong, and he's not sure if they're back yet and how they got out, but he's pretty sure it's 3. And he, in fact, is in charge of the justice system in this country. Earlier on, I spoke to the Shadow Justice Secretary, Robert Jenrick, about a plot. Apparently it's a plot to remove Starmer. Hurrah! Mind you, the alternative could be awful. Trump suing the BBC. The Bell Hotel, that hotel, of course, where all the problems started in Epping, apparently migrants are allowed back. It's sod, the locals, the government don't care about women's safety. It's all about the migrants. And, of course, Calamity Lammy. What did Jenrick make of the day's news? Have a watch. I wanted to ask you about Calamity Lammy, because you absolutely nuked him, didn't you, yesterday? Confirming that 91 prisoners have been released by mistake in the past year since Labour came to power. At least 3 are still at large, including an Albanian drug dealer. He's been on the run for a year. But yes, the incompetence of David Lammy, I'm not taking anybody's side. It's absolutely shocking. He said, I think they've escaped. I think they're at large. I'm not really sure. He must be, I mean, many of them are, one of the best examples of somebody unfit for that great job and a really important job, a job that you shadow. It is beyond comprehension that the Justice Secretary, the Deputy Prime Minister, doesn't even damn well know, Robert, whether somebody, as you said, is in a cell or isn't in a cell. What is he doing all day?
I have no confidence in David Lammy, and I've yet to meet anyone who does. He came to Parliament yesterday and admitted that a prisoner is being accidentally released from prison basically every other day. That 91 have been released accidentally since the spring. It may in fact be more than that, because there are some people he doesn't know whether they were in jail or not, such is the state of our prisons right now. And he basically tried to cover up these statistics, didn't he? He wouldn't say last week, when he stood in for Keir Starmer at Prime Minister's Questions, and eventually was dragged kicking and screaming to say so yesterday. Why? Because it's a total embarrassment, and this is endangering the public. We laugh about it, and David Lammy, yeah, is a complete joke. But this is actually very serious, because you've got dangerous criminals like sex offenders out on the streets of our country, making a mockery of our criminal justice system, wasting police time as manhunts are being set off left, right and centre across the country. Victims of these terrible crimes are extremely worried. Remember the testimony last week of the Epping victim, the young girl who was sexually assaulted there and was worried that her assaulter might come back to Epping and she might meet him once again. She couldn't get to sleep at night. That's the human cost of what's happening right now. And yet we've got a Justice Secretary who frankly doesn't have a clue, and I have no confidence in his ability to get a grip on this situation.
The High Court judge yesterday saying asylum seekers should stay at the Bell Hotel in Epping. And just for people just tuning in, this is a hotel full of migrant men, not women and children, next to a girls' school, a school that has teenage girls, where a girl was sexually assaulted, whose life has been blighted, where caring mothers, the pink ladies, took to the streets with placards saying, we want to protect our kids. What does that say about our justice system, and what more does it say about a government who don't care about female safety? It's appalling.
It's a total disgrace. And at one point, remember, the Home Office argued that the rights of illegal migrants should take priority over the rights of residents of towns and communities like Epping. Can you believe that? The Home Office of our country was saying that the rights of people who've broken in on small boats should take precedence over the mums, the grandmas, the hard-working, decent people who are out on the streets of Epping, worried about the safety of their children and their grandchildren. That hotel should obviously close, as should all of the asylum hotels. How do you do that? Well, by detaining and deporting everyone who arrives here illegally. Enough is enough. The patience of the British public has totally snapped. Frankly, it snapped a long time ago on this issue, as you saw in those protests, and protests elsewhere across the country, in Altrincham, in Fareham, in communities the length and breadth of the United Kingdom, who simply do not want this problem to continue for a day longer. Is Keir Starmer going to do that? Look, I don't think so. He is not doing what's necessary, which is to leave the ECHR, scrap our broken human rights laws, detain everyone who steps foot on our soil illegally, and then get them out of the country, either back home to their own country or to a safe third country like Rwanda or wherever it may be.
You talked about a briefing by Number 10 against possible leadership candidates. We're streeting on the round this morning saying it's nothing to do with me. You said taking a machine gun to his own ministers. Would you welcome a plot to remove Keir Starmer?
Well, I think Keir Starmer is one of the worst prime ministers in my lifetime. And what we've seen in the last 24 hours just shows how weak he's become, and paranoid, the fact that he's turning against his own cabinet. This is not a way to run this country, but particularly at a time when we're facing such serious challenges. I just want him to get back to his day job, which is actually trying to fix Britain, to tackle the backlogs in the NHS, to secure our borders, to raise living standards for people who are hard up right now. That's what this man should be focused on, not in the internal civil war in the Labour Party that's now broken out into the open and is consuming all of their time. Get back to doing the job that we actually elected him to do. Fix our country.
It's quite
make
interesting
people's
because
lives better.
I sit here and I think he is, as you said, possibly the most incompetent least qualified person ever to be the Prime Minister of the country. And then I look at his front bench, Robert. I look at Calamity Lammy, and we'll laugh, but I don't mean it disrespectfully. I look at Rayner had to go. Louise Haigh was a criminal. The Transport Secretary, Yvette Cooper's failed in every job she's gone to. I will say this, and I'm not pro-Labour, the only one, and I'm not sure whether she's making a pitch or is saying it just for the sake of saying it, the only one that speaks the sort of language that you begin to think is correct-ish is Shabana Mahmood. I have no idea, but they are supremely underqualified if you look at them, and I think people's faith in this government has eroded in a really, really short time. I mean, can you imagine 17 months after striding into Downing Street with the biggest post-war majority? We're talking about, I mean, the Tories managed 3 in about 3 weeks. I mean, that was pretty unprecedented, but this is also, for the Labour Party, completely unprecedented, isn't it?
Yeah, no, this is a government that feels like it's in the end of days. This is a government that feels like it's got months left to live, and yet, in theory, it may drag on for 3.5 years. And my worry is actually for the country. Imagine the harm that can be done with 3.5 years of this rudderless government continuing. It's really almost sad to think of what will come to the country in this time. What can I do? Hold them to account every step of the way. Ensure that we are showing a better way and coming forward with serious answers to how we do fix the country, get people's living standards up, get homes built, secure our borders, tackle crime with this growing sense of lawlessness right now in our country. That's what I've got to do in the months ahead.
Final question, you've been great as ever. Big furore with the BBC. I think massive problems underneath, but of course Donald Trump is at the forefront of this. He apparently has verified overnight he's going to sue the BBC for $1 billion for defamation. My question to you is simple. Is Donald Trump right to sue the BBC, Robert Jenrick?
Well, I don't know the ins and outs of whether he's got a claim or not, but the BBC should obviously just apologise to him, do so sincerely for what it's done. But the bigger issue is what is the future of the BBC? They've got to use this moment to actually change their ways, represent the country properly, weed out all of the bias that we've seen in recent times. And if they don't, then I don't know if there's a future for the BBC licence fee. If they want it to be sustainable now and into the future, the BBC as an organisation has got to fundamentally change.
Top man, Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick on the show earlier, and he will be here on Tuesday in his new feature, creatively brilliant this, it's called Ring Rob. It's not difficult, you can ring Robert Jenrick and put a question to him. What is it, 13 minutes past 9, you were Morning Glory. Julia here from 10 o'clock. Loads of you responding to the news today. 4 million people on benefits without the need to work. Donald Trump threatening to sue the BBC. And our Justice Secretary / Deputy Prime Minister admitting that 91 people have managed to escape from prison in the last 12 months. John in Ayrshire says, I have a single mother who's a neighbour of mine. 2 kids, never worked a day in her bleeding life. She drives a new car, smokes cigarettes, Taylor Swift concerts regularly and 3 holidays abroad a year. And I'm just off to do a 12-hour shift. Good morning to Ian. Jez, I paid off my mortgage at 42 and I have never, ever claimed a penny from anyone. I've just, out of interest from listening to you this morning, done a benefits checker. And if I quit my job at 42 today, the government would kindly pay me £20,000 a year for sitting on my arse watching Netflix. R in Southampton, Roy. My mate's daughter and their partner have 3 kids with mild medical conditions. The partner says he has schizophrenia. Every time that he is assessed, he says he hears voices, then he laughs. They have a brand new car, 2 horses. They're actually on holiday in the Caribbean at the moment. Who'd have thought that going to work would be so beneficial? Not. Good old Labour. We should have a one-day strike, everyone. Hello to Bob, who says Lammy kept blaming a paper-based system for the failure. 1, so how has that stopped working after hundreds of years? And 2, what system do we fall back on when his AI-based computer fails due to no wind making electricity? Oh yes, a paper-based system. He doesn't like him at all. Finally, Gaz in Scunthorpe. I'm slightly younger than you, Jez, but when I started my work life, not having to work due to depression didn't exist. I'll make the point, Gaz, as I made earlier. Whenever we talk about benefits in this country, people will jump up and down and say, hold on a minute, you're being unfair. So I'll nail it, as I have since 6 o'clock. There are people with disabilities, there are people with long-term mental health problems who cannot work, who want to work, and we should acknowledge that the system is set up to help those very people. What we also want to approach and talk about bravely and correctly is, what about the people who are gaming a system and the people who should claim are being let down? Morning, Wayne.
Good morning, Jeremy. So the only time I've ever been on benefits was when I broke both my kneecaps in a car accident. I went on the old-fashioned incapacity benefit. However, that meant that I couldn't work because I was physically injured, but I still had to pay full council tax, still had to pay full council rent. Yet if I was a jobless low-life scumbag sitting on the memorial steps sipping a Stella, then I'd have got my on job seekers allowance, I'd have got council tax paid for, my rent paid for. Now, the icing on the cake is, Jeremy, that even after having 2 years of claiming incapacity benefit, once my insurance and compensation money came back out, I had to pay it all back anyway. So I've never actually received benefits at all, have I really? Because I'm at a net zero. I've paid every single penny of tax in my life, and when I did get a benefit, it came out of my compensation money. I can't win. I'm doing something wrong, Jezza. I'm doing something wrong.
You are doing something wrong. You're working. 9:15. We say a very good morning to Layla Cunningham, Westminster City Council for Reform, and I will tell you, will be the next Mayor of London. Layla, good morning. How are you?
Morning. How are you?
I'm very well. Main news headlines today, all over the Times, predominantly in other papers, 1 million more on benefits with no need to work, making a total of 4 million. That's alongside the bloodbath of 1,000 people losing their jobs a day under Rachel Reeves. I said then, Layla, that whenever we talk about benefits, it's a dodgy area because people think that reform, let's say, would come in and axe the benefits of people who genuinely need it. That's not the point, is it? What it needs to do is look at people who are gaming the system, and in that process, making sure that people who deserve claims are missing out. Is that not the truth?
Yeah, I mean, basically what we have now is an economy where it's easier to be signed off than to work. Ill health is now one of the biggest drags on our growth, and we don't have growth. And also, it's sad because we're losing a generation to inactivity. So every young person who drops out of the workforce, it costs the taxpayer millions of pounds, and we don't give them the opportunity to be successful. And like you said previously, we cannot fund a welfare state if fewer people are working. The article says that we're heading for a 100 billion benefits bill and a shrinking tax base. So how are we supposed to pay for it? I mean, literally, Britain isn't working.
And I think the point as well is, which is really relevant, because it is important to keep banging home so that the people who are genuine claimants understand that whatever party comes to power is not about attacking them. It's about looking at an inflated bill. You just said it, £100 billion a year. I'm all for talking about mental health, and I'm all for paying into a system that helps those who cannot help themselves. But maybe I'm old-fashioned, Layla. It was never meant to be a career choice. It was supposed to be a safety net. It is swamped by people gaming the system, and also people who genuinely, you heard the last guy, who for once in his life asked for something, had to pay it all back. It's imbalanced and wrong, and it's an absolute drain financially. And we have a government that won't do anything about it because their own backbench MPs forced that. You know, he wanted to knock $5 billion off the welfare, but in the end it was nothing. He couldn't get it through, Starmer, because all the leftists think we should pay people to do nothing. That's not right. It doesn't make sense.
No, and like you said, we're paying for their political weakness because their backbenchers wouldn't allow any kind of reform. We've built a benefit system that traps people instead of helping them back on their feet. Like you say, it's meant to be welfare is meant to be a temporary state, but it's become a permanent replacement for work and frankly, dignity. And until we have a government that has the courage to link welfare to work, Britain's going to keep paying the price economically and socially. But that's the problem. The thing is, Starmer said before he came into power, he said that he's a socialist, and that's an ideology that feeds off dependency. And because dependency means control. So, you know, they don't reward the taxpayer that gets up every morning, you know, leaves their family, works, pay their way. They're treated like a bottomless pit to be drained rather than respected, because socialism has to survive on dependence. It needs people reliant on the state. And I think that's what we're seeing.
As Thatcher once said, socialists are very good at spending everybody else's money until they realise that the bills are added up and we're skint. I'd love your response even. I spoke to Nigel the other day. Donald Trump overnight confirming that he will sue the BBC for $1 billion. I don't know where you stand on this, Layla, but whilst the Trump thing's important and the doctoring of that speech, the fact they hid this report for 6 months is important, I think it's a seminal moment for the BBC. I think there is so much wrong with it. I think it's biased. I don't think it's filtered or produced in the right way. It's supposed to be our state broadcaster. I don't even need to list the calamities that have taken place, from Savile to Martin Croxall to the Hamas documentary to whatever you want to say. It seems to a lot of us in broadcasting, Layla, it's a pretty unfair playing field, and the BBC at 5.39 billion quid a year needs to be playing on the same pitch as the rest of us. And they've proven, I think, by not having that their output is biased and wrong. But apparently, if you say that, you're far right, according to Tim Davie and Nick Robinson.
Yeah, and I think Lisa Nandy called it a shining light, please. It's not a shining light anymore. It's a state-funded indoctrination tool. And I feel it's led by activists with a specific political agenda that shapes the narrative. And like you say, they look down on anyone who thinks differently. And you know what's the worst part, Jeremy? I have to pay for it.
Yeah.
I don't see why I have to pay for it. I've got hundreds of channels online. I barely watch the BBC. I feel it's the only service in this country that if I don't use it, I still have to pay for it. Why?
Well, it was interesting that one of the BBC, one of the ex-producers was laying into me yesterday and saying, we did Traitors, we did Strictly, we had the Lionesses, 12.2 million people watching. And I went, yes. So you can stand in front of a subscription-based population and say, those programmes are very popular, pay to watch them. Your news output is not unbiased, it should not be funded, it is blatantly not looking at all sides of the argument. You're supposed to be able to tell, aren't you, by what it says on the tin. I think we know what we get from The Guardian or Talk or The Sun or LBC or whatever it is. But with the BBC, I expect impartiality. You're right. It's ideologically indoctrinating, and I think it's high time that changes. Very quickly before you go, Calamity Lammy, unbelievable. I know we hope that you stand for mayor in London. This man admits yesterday that 91 prisoners have been released in the last 12 months under this government, whilst 3, probably most of them from, I don't know, Walthamstow, that's prison or whatever, Wandsworth. 3 prisoners still at large, including an Albanian drug dealer who's been on the run for a year. But Lammy said, I think he's a drug dealer and I think he's released, but he could be back, but I'm not altogether sure. It's our justice system, Layla. It's brilliant, isn't it?
I know he doesn't even know. I mean, he's the Justice Secretary, for God's sake. If he doesn't know, then who the hell does?
Yeah.
It's not just incompetence. I think for me, it's contempt. It's contempt for the public, for the victims, they don't care. They don't care enough to know. They don't care enough to keep these prisoners. And it's the same pattern everywhere. The British public really deserve ministers that care and don't just, shrug their shoulders. You know what? I'm not sure. I don't know. I'll let you know.
I don't fear to say what I'm going to say, but I watched the Labour Party gain this incredible majority by what I called the Ming Vase policy, by saying very little. I mean, for goodness sake, the woman that was planning the first 100 days, Sue Gray, had been gone before they were up, day 93. I fear they had very little plan, but most of all, I think the longer this goes on, today there are rumours about a coup against Starmer. Esther McVeigh said he's fired the starting pistol himself. You look at that front bench later and you go, they've either gone from, university to a think tank to the Fabian Society. You look at Lammy, you look at Rayner, you look at Louise Haigh. I mean, Tulip Sadiq it's extraordinary. What was she? The corruption minister who's being done for corruption. I mean, the whole thing is... And you look at Starmer and you think, God, if he went, I was told this morning the 2 favourites would be Angela Rayner and Ed Miliband. I'm going to have to leave the country, mate. It's just unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, for me, it's a government built on excuses. There's zero accountability. Like you said, the anti-corruption minister got done for corruption. The homelessness minister made people homeless. I mean, the list goes on. The transport minister was a criminal. And he always stands there and he says, I stand by this. They have my full confidence. I'm sorry, we need accountability. We need control. We need leadership that actually believes in protecting us and doing what's right. And Jeremy, right now we have none of that. I feel they've lost their mandate to govern with all the failures that happened in the past, is it 14 months, believe it or not, or however long?
15 months, that's it. Believe it or don't believe it. Something like 60 weeks, 70 weeks. That's all they've been in. And he's turned a 180-seat majority into a coup. You know, I ask you every time, because I am going to be your campaign manager, you're going to beat Sadiq Khan, aren't you?
If I run, I definitely will beat Sadiq Khan.
Love having you on. Layla Cunningham, thank you so much indeed. Westminster City Council Reform UK, 9:25 on Morning Glory. Here until 10, Julia from 10 o'clock. Loads of you getting involved. Johnny from Kettering. Mental health is the new bad back. Very hard to prove and easy to get signed off work. And Johnny, that's a point, but it's also sad because mental health is a massive thing and destroys so many lives. And I also get very angry when people use that as an excuse. Good morning to Steve in Rotherham. The shop where we collect parcels has a food bank across the road. It's amazing how many people we see in that shop buying cigarettes, lottery cards, who then walk across to get food from the food bank. Oh, God. What on earth, Jeremy, is going on, says Reg. Where is Shabana Mahmood? She was the one who got the job and said she was going to be hard and get things done. I don't think I've heard her name mentioned once since she got promotion. Well, apparently she's in Denmark working out how to deal with the crisis. Interesting from Mary Wright. Genuinely disabled people who have mental health illness deserve welfare, deserve our support and their benefits, not lazy people. Simon, it's 9:25. This happened earlier on, ladies and gentlemen, and this is not made up. On page, I can't remember what page it is, hold on a minute. I think it's page 11 of The Sun today. NHS treats women's prostates. 313 biological men logged as females. Simon went, geez, I've just switched on. Did you just say women can have a prostate, or did I hear you wrong? What the hell's going on, Jez? Men who can breastfeed, pregnant person, man can be a woman can be a man, woman can have a prostate. They obviously have a critical thinking problem in their brain and need help. And I'm being bleeding nice here. Female prostate. Think on that. Morning, Arnie.
Morning, Jeremy. Great show as always, buddy. This is Arnie from Yorkshire. Just to talk about the benefits and everything, and people, you know, different people, mental health and whatnot. I have PTSD. I beat depression, which I did in 2020. Used that time off that I could, but I fell into depression in 2016 after an inquiry where a patient, because I worked as a private ambulance controller for a private company, took his own life, and I fell into depression. It took a long period, like 5-6 years of my life to fully come out of it. I used 2020 to do that, but in that time I'd lost my mother, shockingly, just out of nowhere, and then in 2021 I lost my father, and it was almost a year after I finally got a job, because I'd been doing temping all that time up to 2020, and then no one would employ me after that. And there's been just many other things. I've lived a traumatic life anyway for much of it, but I've always fought through it, and it can be done.
Big news coming this December. Our talkTV app is moving to the Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. From Monday, 1st of December, the talkTV app will no longer exist, so don't miss out. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. Just gone 9:30 on this Wednesday morning. JK till 10. One of the main news stories this morning was, I find this astonishingly bad. A High Court judge has ruled that asylum seekers can still be housed at Epping's Bell Hotel. I'll just cast your mind back. This was the hotel in Epping, very close to a senior secondary school. And a migrant who'd been in this country 4 days only left that hotel some months ago and sexually assaulted a young girl from the school. He was arrested and charged and probably told to stay because his traumatising lifestyle meant that he behaved in this way. But it caused the Pink Ladies to take to the streets, the mothers concerned about their daughter's health and safety, and the council, and I salute Epping Council, went to court and said, this needs closing. This is not right. This is a risk. The government said, no, that's not fair to migrants. Why did I do that voice? Anyway, the government went, we're prepared to put, or we want to put the rights of migrants ahead of the safety of young girls, and won an appeal, and overnight a High Court judge has ruled that asylum seekers can still be housed at that Bell Hotel in Epping. It's an absolutely appalling story. Let's go to Karen McIver. So good to have her back, the branch secretary of Epping Forest Reform UK. Karen, I shudder to think, genuinely, right, and I've said this many times, what young girls and women in Epping think right now of a government that puts their safety second to the rights of men who might or might not be criminals coming into this country unvetted. It's beyond, to me, I can't even comprehend it, mate. I really can't.
No, it's awful. Good morning. Thank you for having me on. It was disgusting yesterday. It's a shocker. It shouldn't have happened. But once again, the government let us down. We have been peacefully protesting since the beginning of July. We have conducted ourselves with complete dignity, trying to get this hotel closed. And yesterday, they've just shut us down again, like we don't exist. But we do exist, and we will continue to protest, and we will continue to try and get the hotel closed by whichever peaceful force that we can try and get it shut. I've invited the Prime Minister to come to see the hotel. I did invite Yvette Cooper, and I also invite the new Home Secretary. Come and see it for your own eyes. Come and see why we are giving up every Thursday and every Sunday to peacefully protest. We all have busy lives, but we are giving up our time to peacefully protest because it is wrong on every level. And once again, as you just said, it's full of undocumented men. We don't know who these people are, and it's happening across the country. We see no leadership. We see no leadership from our government. We see no leadership from the local Conservatives that are running Epping at the moment. We're just left hanging. So we have to take things, into our own control, which is why we peacefully protest and shout as loud as we can. For things to change. It's scary, Jeremy. It's not right.
It is scary, and I want to ask you a couple of questions because you're there on the ground. And let me just reiterate what Karen just said. The people who lead this country have refused to go to Epping to see this problem. Now, what Starmer had got away with for months before that was to label anybody who dared to take to the streets and moan about migrants as far right. And I remember watching your story evolve. Pink Ladies doing their bit, just protecting their kids. Oh, lo and behold, that's the first rule of being a parent. What do you say to the people who say, Karen McIver, all the women and all the protesters down there are far right, they've got an agenda against those poor migrants? What do you say to that?
I say come and meet us and see that we're not. We're hard-working women. We're mothers, grandmothers, sisters, aunties. We are there to protect our children. Many times I say women are the backbone of this country, and we are. And when we stand together and when we speak out, you know, we have to be listened to. I have great connections with the school. My children both went there as parent governor. And it's a wonderful school in a wonderful community. And the fact that the Prime Minister you know, he needs to lead his people. He needs to do a press conference. He needs to tell people what is going on. Every day we see hundreds. I think on Saturday or Friday it was 1,000 that came over. You know, these undocumented men pushing in the queue to come in this country illegally. You know, speak to us. Speak to your country. Tell your country what your plan is. But, you know, they don't have one, Jeremy. That's why it's not happening. So we are left to protest in individual communities. Mine happens to be Epping. And we are protesting and shouting as loud as we can, peacefully. And when I say peacefully, I mean trouble-free. You know, please listen to us. Don't ignore us. We are your people. You need to be listening to us.
One other thing. Whenever we see footage, and there's some, Karen, now playing, we see counter-protesters. And one of the rules of, not rules of broadcasting, but you want to look at both sides. Explain to me, maybe this sounds cynical, the counter-protest, the ones who call you racist or disrespectful to migrants, have any of them ever had a child? What would happen if you said to one of those unwashed zealots, if you said, hold on a second. If you had a 14, 15-year-old daughter, you idiot, who had been sexually assaulted by an unvetted migrant in a hotel next to a school, would your opinion change? Because whenever I see these idiots interviewed, they say, "Oh, we should house them," and somebody says, "Well, would you like one in? Would you like to take it?" No, I can't. That doesn't work. It's like this bloody. People tell me the Greens are on the march. The people who believe that should discover this morning that the deputy leader of the Green Party, Rachel Millwall, who goes on and on and on about asylum seekers and their rights with that idiot Zelensky, is also at the head of a complaint about 600 asylum seekers being housed in her local housing area in East Sussex. She says, on the one hand publicly, refugees are welcome, just not where I bloody well live. That's what does my head in about these people, Karen. Really does.
They're hypocrites, and the double standards is shocking, and they think that we're just going to put up with it. We're not. We are British people. We help everybody. We are kind-hearted, good people, and we help everybody. But right now, we need help. Our situation isn't right. It's incorrect. And daily, the numbers are growing. Where are all these people going to go? You know, we don't have enough for our own people, and there's wonderful people waiting in a queue to come to our country legally. So, you know, where are all these people going to go? And when is it going to stop? You know, talk to us, tell us your plan. But they haven't got a plan, Jeremy. That's why they don't talk to us. They just hide. They're sheltered in their Westminster bubble. They're not on the ground with real people seeing what's going on. I canvass every single weekend in my community, and I talk to people. And you know, people are really, really, really so concerned with what's going on in our country at the moment. And we don't see, we don't see any beacon. The only hope that people have at the moment is a change of government, and you know, a reform government is the hope that a lot of people have at the moment. And let's have a fingers crossed that Nigel Farage gets in to lead our country and, you know, start repairing the mess that has been made by the last two governments.
You know, for me, Talk was set up as the you know, common sense station, and common sense tells me we will continue to stand with you on this. I think it's extraordinary that a democratically elected government can publicly admit that they put in front of the safety of young girls and women the rights of unvetted migrants. It's an outrage. Karen, keep the fight going. Thank you so much indeed. Karen McIver, branch secretary in Epping Forest, where overnight we discover a judge, another faceless human rights idiot, I imagine, says that asylum seekers can be based at Epping's Bell Hotel. That's fine. Unbelievable. The big news story of the day, of course, 1 million more people, meaning 4 million, on benefits that don't have to work. We keep asking, you know, do people have any incentive? How do we get people back to work? And whenever we have this discussion, people go, you're being really unfair, Jez. People with mental illness and disability shouldn't work. No, I've said that all the way through. But I will also sit here till I'm blue in the face and say, how many people are gaming the system? A very good morning to Angela in Edinburgh. Listen to this, peeps. As a mental health nurse of many years, Jeremy, I can tell you categorically now that those with severe and enduring mental illnesses who are treatment resistant and unable to work is a minority. The majority are stable with treatment. It's also interesting how many of them, and I have experience of this, as Angela, have a relapse when their benefits are due for reassessment. That is from a mental health nurse. Good morning to Stace in Bristol. I spent 30 years, Jez, working in the NHS. I've seen all sorts of people claiming they have problems to get benefit. One patient once sent to me, "Thanks for working so I can holiday in Spain. I've never worked a day." Now, I've had to stop work due to a shoulder injury and chronic arthritis, and I'm struggling to get anything. It is hardly surprising after 30 years in the NHS when I can categorically say, Jez, the system is broken. Penny, good morning.
Morning, Jezza. Just a quick one about the benefits and things like that. So I've very recently had quite an upheaval in my life. I've taken over the rental agreement for my property. I work. I do way more than my contracted hours. I am not on minimum wage, but yet I still am really struggling to pay the council tax, the water, the rent, my electric bills. So it should be people who are at work, who need a bit of help, should be getting this money, not the people who can't be bothered, because it really, really infuriates me that I go to work, I work my backside off to try and live a life in which I am happy, and yet there are people out there who can't be bothered and they're getting more than me, and they'll pop out a couple of kids. Oh, look at that, that's a couple of extra grand a year. Oh, that's lovely, well done. What are you actually doing with your life? Nothing. It's exceptionally disheartening. It is exceptionally frustrating, and I can't wait for Labour to get out. This budget is going to be awful.
Couldn't agree with you more. I love these voice notes. Please keep them coming. It's great to get your stories in detail, your response to the day's news on 0344 499 1000. We're going to a break. I'm coming back with breaking news in 3.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile. The home of common sense. This is Talk.
Talk about that breaking news on Talk. 7 men have just been charged with more than 40 offences against 11 teenage victims. This is part of an investigation into group-based child sexual exploitation in Bristol, Avon and Somerset. The police just saying, so just to repeat, 7 men charged this morning with over 40 offences against 11 teenage victims as part of an investigation into group-based child sexual exploitation, this time in Somerset, which should, if there was any sense in this government, reignite calls for that national inquiry into child grooming, well, child rape cases, and they need to get out from behind their desks in Westminster, go across this country, see what's going on and protect the younger members of society. Hayley's in Surrey. Jez, this ridiculous state of the Bell Hotel baffles me. Keir Starmer has teenage kids. Why doesn't he understand what is going on by imagining how he would feel and what he would do if anything happened to them? I'm sure the man's a robot. Good morning to Sally. My daughter is a teacher and lives in a house of multiple occupancy in an expensive city. She struggles to pay the rent for her 1-bedroom. If she was to give up work and get pregnant, she'd get a flat to herself. God. Bills in Cheshire benefits gaming the system. No better example than the Motability scheme. 20% of all cars sold in the UK are now via this scheme, and I would respectfully suggest many people are taking advantage of that. And finally, Russell in Derbyshire. Jez, just a quick thought on our NHS. Shouldn't all of these members of staff who don't know what a woman is have to go back to medical school, or if they were taught incorrectly by the medical school, sue them for false education? As soon as we are born, we instinctively know what a woman is. As we go to feed off the breast, we don't head towards the dad. The problem is with that, Russell, there are now breastfeeding dads, and there is also on page 11 of The Sun a story that I can't, it's so difficult for me to deal with this. Women are being investigated for prostate exams. Luton, Paul, Jez, don't all women have erectile dysfunction? Yours might do. Right, next subject before we wrap. Unbelievable. I'm going to say a very good morning to the director of Net Zero Watch. On the day, Andrew Mountford, good morning. On the day that we discover that Ed Miliband will make 2 identical 12,000-mile round trips in 2 weeks to the summit, COP30. His trip will cost the taxpayer an estimated £22,000 and create around 6 tonnes of CO2 emissions. Really? What a waste of money. I'm with Tyson. Stupid net zero, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but, you know, this is not exactly the first example of green-minded politicians and green-minded celebrities being completely hypocritical. I mean, we used to actually run an annual report on green hypocrisy. And, you know, there was absolutely no shortage of entrants for our annual Green Hypocrite of the Year award. I mean, I don't know whether you remember when Emma Thompson flew across the Atlantic first class to attend an Extinction Rebellion protest in London, and then flew straight back again. I mean, it goes on and on and on.
Can I make a suggestion for Green Hypocrite of the Year? I think you should reintroduce that award. Extraordinary story also overnight. Zach Polanski, the new leader of the Green Party, the man who says that in another life he was a hypnotist who could increase the size of women's breasts, probably men with breasts, the world's gone nuts. But his deputy, Rachel Millward, she should go for your award. She's the deputy to the Greens, and she spends all her time saying this country should welcome refugees. It's all about that. But is at the front and centre of a complaint against the local council in East Sussex that 600 asylum seekers are going to be housed in her local area. So it's all right for the rest of you, Andrew, but you're not coming to East Sussex. They're all hypocrites, these greenies, aren't they?
Yeah, so maybe it's not just hypocrisy on green issues, it's hypocrisy on all issues. Yeah, and we really ought to hold these people to account. You know, if they're just going to do one thing here and another thing there, yeah, we really ought to hammer them. I mean, the Green Party actually has been awful about this. You know, they say we want renewables everywhere. You know, but as soon as a solar farm appears in a constituency where the Greens think they have a chance, then they're against it. You know, it's always one thing nationally and another thing locally. Yeah, we really should be hammering these people. And yeah, Zach Polanski, he looks like he's going to be worse than normal, doesn't he?
Well, I said something off air which I'm not allowed to say. Talk about hypnotists. I think there is somebody in his life that is hypnotised, but I'm not going into it. I'd also like to salute this morning protesters, some wearing what appeared to be traditional indigenous dress, stormed the COP30 entrance, chanting and kicking down the doors. I'm not condoning any sort of violence, but I always think that these COP things, Andrew, are a bit like the EU. They all get on their jets and they go to Brazil and they all stay in five-star hotels, having built a road through the Amazon forest, to pontificate to the rest of us who are skint that we should be trying to achieve something that the rest of the world frankly doesn't care about, mate.
Yeah, I mean, it is now just a jolly, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, I don't think this is the way the world is going anymore. As people are experiencing the economic pain caused by net zero, the world is moving away from it. I mean, the US has no interest in doing net zero at all. It's clear when we get a change of government in the UK that net zero will be abandoned completely. So this is just a chance for politicians to go and grandstand. I mean, you can see that Keir Starmer actually would quite, he was keen to get out of the country and get away from his problems at home, and he can grandstand there. He can hobnob with other world leaders and can pretend that he's important and delivering something. But the reality is COP is now an irrelevance.
It's really interesting that COP is I love that. COP is promoted by, Ed Millipede, and we hear this morning, I mean, it's extraordinary this, that there is civil war brewing in the Labour Party and people are briefing against the Prime Minister and he's fired the starting gun, and they're talking about how if Starmer falls, Andrew Mountford, please don't fall off your chair, that the left wing will gain control of the party, and with Rayner as not an MP, the favourite with the bookies to be the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, I can't even bring myself to say this, is Ed Miliband, Andrew Mountford.
We've had this conversation in the office, and we think that is actually the most likely outcome, and it will be at a time where we really can't use any more disasters. This is going to be another disaster. I suppose the one hope is that it distracts him from the net zero insanity. If it gets him out of the energy department, well, that may be a bonus.
But can you imagine him at a state banquet trying to eat a bacon roll? Listen, Andrew Mountford, I share your frustrations, director of Net Stupid Zero, not your Zero Watch. That's fantastic, but listen, extraordinary. All these people. We need to save the world, but we're skint. Morning, Trace.
Jeremy, I understand your frustration about more people on benefits, but then just lately, for how the country is and that we've been told by the Labour Party and the judges that we take second place to immigrants, you think, what is the point in going to work? Because we're not getting any benefit from it. It's just to put these up in hotels and they get everything paid for. So I don't blame people in one breath. The whole country needs to strike because it's the only way. And I think if we keep this government in for the remainder of 3 years, the damage is going to be unrepairable.
The great irony, of course, is that for the past few years, the BBC has been presenting itself as an island of truth in a sea of misinformation. It keeps putting out these adverts saying you're being misled by the internet, you're being misled by all these demagogues online, you know, be careful, don't trust everything you see. But they were pumping out their own misinformation the whole time. They were doctoring footage of President Trump. They've been lying to us. And some of us always suspected that, and now we have the hard proof.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. Thank you, by the way, for all your response to the morning's news. That's what it's about. We'll be back here tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock. Thank you, even 6 o'clock. Thank you to Christian, Magic Mark, Lucky Luke, and Tommy is utterly tremendous. Christian, what begins in... Never mind. 0344 499 1000. The Queen of Westminster striding purposefully into Studio 1 will be on air from 10 o'clock. Julia Hartley-Brewer. Good morning, JK. Phil in Coventry. Lots of things need drastic change in this old country of ours. No foreign nationals should receive benefits. Housing ahead of British nationals. Slash foreign aid. Charity begins at home. Loved your response to the loon from the BBC yesterday, by the way. Julie and Kate, good morning. I've got PTSD, OCD and anxiety, and I've never tried to go on the sick or claim a bleeding penny. I have 2 autistic children and I've spent 17 years caring without a single day off. Hard work kept me sane. I know, says Wendy, a girl who managed to get 35 grand car because she was in disability benefits. She has nothing wrong with her, just a lazy git sticking her finger up at the system. Here's a woman who's never been lazy, who does occasionally stick her finger up at the system. Sorry. Julia, good morning.
Good morning to you.
I love the purple.
Well, it's pink.
Is it now? You see,
yeah,
I'd call that cerise, actually. Would you call that cerise?
Cerise. I'll go with cerise, but not purple.
How are you?
Boys in colours.
You know,
my dad's colourblind, and the whole time we're always, the kids are all sitting around going, what colour's this? What colour's this? And we can't
I bet she won't smile. My dad's dead.
Oh, don't.
Which is true. He's no longer here. I know. There you go. Do you know the argument that the benefits subject today, a million more for? It's really interesting with our audience because there will still be people saying, but you're trying to take it away from the mentally ill and disabled.
No, that's what I hate that.
I know.
Well, no, and often immediately, like first call will be from someone who's saying, but I'm doing this. I'm doing... Yes, I know, but we need to make sure we can only afford benefits to help people who really need them.
Absolutely.
If we're not paying every Tom, Dick and Harry who goes on... I mean, I've got to be honest, I'm on the tube this morning on the way into work, get the training, and the amount of people who are sitting there just like, I mean, heads down, just, here we go. Another day at work, miserable November day.
Does work pay?
Well, exactly. And you just think, well, yeah, but they're all going to work. They're doing the right thing. And it is not good for anyone, let alone the country, but even for the individual.